Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are back for another match of Super Rugby Pacific. This one, Moana Pasifika, after a great win over the Fijian draw last week. They go head-to-head with the Hurricanes in their opening contest of Super Rugby Pacific. Looking through at the way the table sits, currently Moana find themselves in third place, although a very different lineup compared to what we saw just last week. They got themselves the 14-point victory over the Fijian draw without the bonus point, as you do need the 3 or more than your opposition. That is something that the Brumbies as well as the Waratahs were able to do. And the Tars, of course, in action up against the Fijian draw later tonight, so a lot of shifting can happen, the overall standings for these two sides. But the Hurricanes, their first match of the season, they have gone strong in their starting side. Xavier Numia, Asafo Amoa and Siali Lauakai as that number 3. Hugo Plummer, he slots in as the number 4 with Warner Durns getting the opportunity at 5. The Japanese international, he really was dangerous last year, all throughout the matches for Japan, so one to keep an eye out for in that Hurricanes. Locking duo, Devon Flanders as the number 6 with Peter Lakai at 7 and Braden Yossi slots in at 8. Eritara Enery comes in at 9. Now he has had a lot of clubs throughout Super Rugby, but in this season will be playing for the Canes. Brett Cameron, he then slots in as that number 10, Fehefine Arnofo out on the left wing. Geordie Barrett returns in that number 12 jersey after his sabbatical with Leinster. Balin Sullivan at 13, then Josh Morby and Callum Harkin. He is that number 15. Looking through at Moana Pasifika. Now, I mentioned there were some changes for the side, and I meant it because there is only one man, or now 2 because of a late injury change, but 2 players in their starting side who started in the last match up against the Fijian draw. That is Miracle Faialangi in the number 6 jersey, and then at number 10 it is Patrick Pellegrini. Everybody else has been changed. There are multiple debuts for this Moana side. They come in as 13 underdogs heading into this match, so a very different looking team than we did see just last week, but we will be reading through their lineup and then we will be looking at the chat very quickly, but it is greatly appreciated you all tuning in so early for this one. Abraham Polly is the number 1 with Sam Molly at 2. Now, initially, he was going to be named as the captain of this Moana side, but then due to the late change of Miracle Faialangi coming into the starting lineup rather than being off the bench, it meant that he then takes that captaincy. Sam Molly now, I guess, the vice captain in this scenario here. We have got, say, Tau Ufuao in that number 3 jersey. Polinaiti and Ali Aho as the number 5. It is now Miracle Faialangi at 6. Taliafoa as the number 7. And Dominic Rapeti at 8. So that is rather than Samisi Tupo Taeloa, who we did see in action last week. In the 19 combination, it is Nini at 9 with Patrick Pellegrini at 10. Tuna Tuitama comes in on that left wing side. Then it is Falatoi Penny in the midfield alongside Glenn Vaihu, Israel Leota, and then a debutant in that number 15 jersey in Simon Peter Toliafoa, I should say, as the 15. But reading through the comments, we've got quite a few of you here already, and it is greatly appreciated you popping in. Which games will you cover this weekend? We're covering all the games of Super Rugby all throughout the weekend, including the Sunday fixture taking place between the Crusaders and the Brumbies. That one will also be on the channel. 6 Nations we're going to be doing as well, and we've also got that Sharks match taking place up against the Lions for the URC, that fill-in game that they have that was rescheduled from last year. I have Roygaard as my 9th for fantasy, and he's making his way off the bench in this game, Cam Roygaard, so you will be waiting a little bit longer to see him, but at the end of the day, that man always brings an impact when he makes his way on. Moana going to bring the pains to the Canes, but that's the thing. It's a very different looking lineup, and you know, this lineup has been met with some criticism as well as some praise for Tana Umanga in terms of what he's done here. There is huge squad rotation for the Moana Pasifika side, which can be good because it rests key players for those upcoming fixtures, but at the same time, with so many changes, you might be just feeding this team to the wolves. The Hurricanes, they will be determined to come out firing after a little bit of a up and down pre-season. We saw their most recent loss to the Chiefs, 29-0. in the preseason fixture, but they'll be backfiring now. They've got some keys back in their lineup as well. Should be a really entertaining, fast-paced type of matchup between these two sides. Good morning all, says Stefan. Welcome in. We have got there. Good morning, Hamish in chat, says Hayno. Welcome to you as well, Hayno. And only 4 teams can have 2 wins from 2 games so far, says Jasmine. I assume that the Hurricanes would be theoretically one of them if they were to win this game and then, of course, win in the next week as well. Although if you're just talking the first 2 weeks, yeah, there aren't too many sides. But at the end of the day, Super Rugby has shown early on Yes, those first games matter, but you need to be exactly at the top, or you just need to win that final, as we've learned from the Crusaders over the last few years or so. We have got there, don't even know half the guides for the Canes. Says Hano, there's some good ones. In terms of these younger players coming into the lineup, I would say, I think you know Warner Dearns, but keep an eye out for that man. He is a very talented lock, a try-scoring lock as well. That's what we saw for Japan in the Pacific Nations Cup last year. He was able to score himself multiple tries in that competition and just finds a way of creating chances. A very talented young player in the mix for the Canes. In terms of that loose forward trio, though, this is a very dangerous one. Devon Flanders, Peter Lakai, and Braden Yossi in that number 8 jersey. Will you say sorry for me for calling that first Chiefs try a no try? He's jumped over the Blues, and Super Rugby Management said earlier this week, tries shouldn't have stood. So why do I have to apologise, Kiwi Rob? Because I said right from the start when Tupavai scored it, if you go back watch the live stream, I said it shouldn't have been a try because he jumped. So I don't know why I would be apologising. In fact, I'd probably be the last person you should be asking for an apology for. But yeah, it was an interesting one. At least they are taking some accountability, but doesn't really do a lot for the Blues now, does it, after that game has already been lost? Because you called it a try. I said that it was a try because the ball was grounded over the line. If you listen to the live stream, which I sometimes doubt that you do, you would have heard me say multiple times, I don't think this should be a try because he's jumped towards the line. You know, I just said at the time, they've blown the whistle, they've awarded it a try. There's a big difference. Warner Dearns, Peter Lakai, Devon Flanders, Geordie, Balin are really the only ones I recognise, says Hano. Yeah, so you'll be very excited with what you see from some of these young players in this Hurricanes lineup. Someone like a Fihi Whinia Norfo, if you've watched a little bit of Sevens, you know what that man can do, although he is going overseas, I believe next year. He's going to be heading over to France, I want to say it is. I imagine if the Brumbies win in Christchurch, it would be a big one and definitely wouldn't be the start to the season that the Crusaders would be after. But at the same time, once again, you just need to win that final, and that is something that the Crusaders have shown time and time again that they do have a lot of potential of being able to do. Did you reply to my message? I wasn't here to hear it. Depends on which message it was. Badser, I'm betting on the underdogs only this weekend. So far it's 50-50 on the cricket. Now it's rugby time. Well, they are a huge underdog in this game, Moana Pasifika. $13 underdogs. Now they started as about $8. Then it dropped to $9. Then it dropped to $13. And as we got closer to the start of this game, it seemed to just keep on going from bad to worse in terms of those odds. But as we saw last week, Moana were underdogs. They were able to go on and get themselves that win over the Fijian draw in Fiji. That wasn't supposed to happen. So if they could somehow, with this young, inexperienced team led by Miracle Whailangi, get the job done in Wellington, it would be close to one of the biggest upsets of this whole season. And of course, we're only in week 2, but it would probably remain that way right throughout. Yes, I did make him captain too. He's the type of player who can get more points in 20 minutes than some in 60. Says BTW Padze. Yeah, plenty of great impact players off the bench for both of these sides. Initially, it was going to be Miracle Whailangi making his way off of the bench for Moana, but instead they have got Malani Matavao in there, William Harveli, Alan Craig, those type of players can bring a real impact for the Hurricanes. Billy Proctor is in the mix for this game. Brad Shields, Tavita Mafaleo. Moana have beaten the Canes before, they have, but not with a team like this. Mainly because of all the debutants. Some of these guys weren't even signed with Moana when they last beat the Canes. We have got all the referees last week versus the Blues. Shouldn't referee again, says Kiwi Rob. But they will. Like, at the end of the day, you can't sack a referee every time there's a mistake, or else you literally wouldn't have any referees left in the world. And how much time left for the game to start? At the moment, we've got about 2 minutes. Geordie Barrett just now leading side out onto the field at Sky Stadium, and then we will be underway. Do, of course, let me know your score predictions. This one, once again, it could be one-sided, but I'm hoping that there's a little bit of back and forth early on. But the Canes on paper are expected to win this game by 25 plus. We'll have to see whether or not they make it a reality. Billy Proctor, interesting move to the Canes. Says, hey, no. Billy Proctor, interesting move to the Canes. But he's moved from the Canes or to the Canes? Because he's been at the Canes for quite some time. You can fire them for a week. So so not firing, you're just putting them on like a stand-down period. You're giving them a week suspension, not firing. Firing means they're gone completely. Firing's what they did to Scott Robertson. But no, in this case, like at the end of the day, referees are humans. Players make multiple errors per game. So the referees, even if you're at that top level of refereeing, you can have one or two, but I think it was more so the fact that everyone involved didn't see it as an issue for that Tupavai try. That's probably the thing that's annoyed more people than the actual fact that it was given. But now we're ready to go for this one to the Canes. Wasn't he at like the Chiefs? You might be thinking Quinn Tupaia. I think Proctor's been at the Canes for a good 3 or 4 years, if not longer. So yeah, it might have been Tupaia. Or maybe Daniel Rona, who you might have been thinking of. Or Narawa, maybe. One of those three. But now kicking this one off, ready to go for this contest. Moana Pasifika kicking from left to right. And that's going to be nicely taken early on. Tell you what, he's a big old boy, Israel Leota, for Moana Pasifika. You look at him and think he's a lock, but he's actually out on the wing for this game. But some early possession for Moana after managing to retain their own kickoff. That is exactly the start that they need, although something that would make it that little bit sweeter is if they're able to get themselves the early try. Any news of Kini Naholo? I think he's close to back, isn't he? Kini Naholo, there's going to be a knock on there from Moana early, and it does now bring the scrum feed opportunity for this Hurricanes side. Or is it? In fact, the Hurricanes have taken that one quickly. So it was actually a penalty, my apologies there, rather than a knock on. The Hurricanes managing to win that penalty, kicking it into touch from Geordie Barrett. Maybe I'm confusing him with someone else. I think so, but I can't work out who it is you're confusing him with at this stage. It might have been one of those guys that we were talking about from the Chiefs, maybe. Now, Safwa Moore, he's looking straight into the sun for this throw. Not the easiest day at the office for a lock on the near side, a hooker on the near side. It's going to be knocked on by Warner Dearns in the line out, and the ball in the hands of Moana Pasifika again. So actually not a bad start to the contest so far, and it is that question of how close can they keep this for how long. Now Nini kicks this one high. And drop ball from Moana. Looks like that one's going to be play on for now. Did look like a knock on, but Gardner says we'll play for that little bit longer. Patrick Pellegrini looking for the cross kick. It bounces into touch. Proctor hasn't played for another team than the Canes. My opinion, Emery is a very good halfback. He has excellent timing with the passing and good vision. I'm glad he's starting, says John. Yeah, they are a little bit spoiled for choice this year, the Canes, with the fact that they can then bring Roigard off of the bench and have that instant impact. But yeah, Eritara Emery, there is a reason that he's been at so many clubs around Super Rugby, and it's not because of the fact that they don't like him. It's just more of the fact that he's that's not even close to being straight. They've just tried to do a set piece from the line out the Canes, and they've given it straight back to Moana Pasifika again. So a little bit of rust here for Warner Dearns in his first game for the Canes. Just trying to find that cohesion. But yeah, he can slot into any team without too much trouble whatsoever, which is always great to see. That's going back for the initial knock on. A few handling errors in the first 3 minutes of this contest from both sides. This will put Moana in a good attacking position on the field here, though. I know Dearns says it was there from Duncan. Yeah, I think it will take a little bit of time to get that line-out cohesion. That is now 2 that has been dropped by Warner Dearns. He's a little bit frustrated about it too, the big man. He's a very skilled individual. I did talk him up a lot before the game, so he kind of has to do well here. Baylor Sullivan is the player you're talking about, says, by the way. I thought Vaikoso Pulinaiti played in Pacifica's maiden Super Rugby season. Good to see him back from France. Says DJ. Yeah, they've got a real mixture of a new team here for Moana. They've got multiple debutants in this game and a few familiar faces thrown in there as well. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting season. And I think that's why Tana Umanga's decided to go with such a different lineup here. Yes, they are considered massive underdogs, but it's all about getting these guys a bit of game time, get that cohesion going before that later stage of the season. But now scrum feed for Moana Pasifika. They've looked relatively threatening at the moment when it comes to the attack. They've had a couple decent carries. Now going off to this left-hand side. Flat run there from Penny in the midfield. There's a lot of excitement about that man as he heads into his first Super Rugby match for Moana Pasifika. Going off to the left-hand side once more. Sam Molly, the original captain of this lineup before we saw Miracle Whailangi come in late. Now Nini goes off to the right-hand side. Patrick Pellegrini thought about going with a cross kick, but instead will hit this ball up. Offloading up now to Tunatuitama, long way off the left wing. On left now with the ball for Moana Pasifika. Tackled just outside of the Canes 22. It's good phase play at the moment. Warner Durns almost turns it into a rolling ball, but told to release. Now Nini goes left once more. Break and run forward here. It was almost a chance for Simon Peter Tuliafoa. Low tackle made by Eri Tara Inuri, a big driving one, assisted by Amoa as well. And dragged down once more. They are still defending inside of their 22 here, the Hurricanes. I think a lot of people would have been picking them to be able to score by now in this game. The Canes, yet they've hardly had an attacking chance inside of Moana's half, with the exception of that penalty. Nini back to the right again. Moana, phase after phase. They're up to 10 in a row here, so very nicely done by the underdogs. Patrick Pellegrini went for the chip in behind. He's been smashed by a Safwa Moa. The mark is called by Fihi Nofo. And I think he will just look to boot this one downfield. England versus Ireland, can both teams lose? They could draw, if that kind of helps. Honestly, this team looks nothing like the team that beat the Fijian draw last week. Not an effort, but personnel, says DJ. Yeah, only 2 men in the starting lineup are the same as what we saw up against the Fijian draw. So, very few options. Why kick it away? I assume you're talking about Pellegrini there with that little chip. It is one of those ones that it either comes off nicely or the other about probably 8 out of 10 times doesn't quite work out. Moana nicely taking this line out. Safwa Moa making the tackle there on Vaikoso Polanaiti. And whereas Ari and Lamape, Ari's in Japan, Lamape's being rested for this matchup. Now going off to the left-hand side again for Moana. More possession, probably about 80% in their favour at the moment. Big run from Miracle Faialangi. He ends up sitting down Geordie Barrett. Gets straight back up though to his feet. Looks for the turnover and the breakdown. Can't quite get it. Pellegrini delays the pass. Now passed on the outside. Tunatuitama goes for the chip in behind. The ball sits up from Moana, are leading in the game where they were considered the biggest underdog of the round. They've come out firing and they strike first in Wellington. Once again, similar to Fijian draw game last week. This wasn't supposed to happen, but they've done it. We have got their Ari is not playing for Pacifica this year, and I'm presuming Lamape has been rested. Yep. And also start the Moana train, or tried train toot, says Ruby, but they do it again. Once again, they're not supposed to be doing this, ladies and gents. $13 underdogs are lucky to score once in a game more than likely, but they've looked like the better team at the moment. In terms of holding on to that ball, called it Wellington Magic Curse. I struggle to see how Geordie Barrett gets the 12 jersey this year for the All Blacks when you have Quinn and Timothy. I can definitely see Timothy and Quinn midfield too. Yeah, see, it all depends on the new coach, doesn't it? Because if the new coach says to Geordie, I want you at 15, then that definitely opens up the door for opportunity. But then at the same time, if it's Joseph or if it's Rennie, who would favour Geordie Barrett more? And Geordie back to 15, it could be an option that they look at. But the try early on from Tunatuitama, managing to strike early in this game. And Moana taking the lead by the 5. Geordie got piss bowled. I think most people do, though, by Miracle Faialangi. He's a big boy, deceptively large, too, when it comes to running that ball and powering through anyone in front of him. But it's kicked off now, 8 minutes into the contest, and more position for Moana. And this has all kind of come about from pretty much the first kickoff when they were able to retain the ball. They gave the Hurricanes no chance of being able to strike quickly. And just a little bit of a shaky line out early here too from the Canes hasn't helped them out too much, but they have got the penalty advantage now for Moana. Patrick Pellegrini goes across to Miracle Faialangi. Low tackle on him by Brad Shields. He's already on the field. Who's that for? I see Flanders. I see Larkai. I see Yossi. Who is Brad Shields? He must be on for Hugo Plummer, I would say. At a guess. Could be wrong, though. Moana deserved that. Yeah, they've played the much better rugby throughout the first 9 minutes of the game, and they just haven't given the Hurricanes the ball. I think is the best way of saying it. They just, if the other team can't get possession, they can't score. And that's kind of the tactic that the Moana side are backing, although mistake made from Patrick Pellegrini. Went for a few extra metres on the kick and does end up missing touch with it. And where is Riley Higgins? I know he was playing a preseason game, wasn't he? For the Canes. I'm not sure whether or not he's just being rested for now. Shields is on for Plummer. Says Kiwi Rob. And holy heck, Hamish Moana are in, says Josiah. Yeah, they scored the first try of this contest. Once again, wasn't supposed to happen, but they're looking good this year. And I don't want to jinx them because we're still very early on. But, yeah, they're doing very nicely. It was close to a 4 pass there for Moana, and in fact, it has been ruled as such. So now the Hurricanes, they have got themselves the scrum feed inside of Moana's half. This is when momentum can start to shift a little bit. I do think Will Jordan is his best in the All Blacks at wing, although I would prefer Jacob Ratamatafuki-Nepkins over Geordie at 15, says the Sporting Kiwi. You see, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because someone else who I don't know if they'll give him a chance this year, but Etino Nana Satoro is also really starting to step up in terms of that back 3 cover, similar to Jacob Ratamatafuki-Nepkins. You've got those guys who are right on the fringe who, depending on who the coach is, you know, if it's Jamie Joseph, does he look towards the Highlander as his potential fill-in of those gaps? Maybe. I would have loved to see where Dylan Pledger would have found himself, though, had he not been injured and if Jamie Joseph is appointed. Whether he would have been a bolter into the team or whether he would have had to wait another year. Eritana Inari going back across to the left-hand side, now starting to find a bit of space here. Geordie Barrett looping around the outside. Brett Cameron there. Goes out to fair here. Whinia Nofo, who scores it. Almost ended up going dead. I think that is what the Moana Pasifika side are asking for. But just like that, the Hurricanes have scored. Yes, and Etino Nana Satoro also has a very good kicking game, says the Sporting Kiwi. I'm really hoping at the end of the game I will be able to say to the bookie, and thank you, says Ruben, but Whinia Nofo, just the first back line that they've decided to use here, the Hurricanes. Good offload from Harkin to keep the ball alive. And then just out to Whinia Nofo, who was going to be hard to catch. He almost did go dead, to be fair. He had a bit of a slip on the inside. We'll see the replay, though. He does get this ball down before going dead. Just by about half a metre. Oi H, nice shift here. So regarding Super Rugby in the no, thanks to Savitz, what's your take? Wait. So regarding Super Rugby and the no thanks. So as in like with South Africa not being in the competition, I think it was mutually agreed upon. It wasn't like a kicking them out situation. I think there was a bit on both sides. But it just came down to people pretty much, yeah. They decided both sides thought that they were too good for the other, and then it just all kind of broke down. But I like both because I get to watch Super Rugby and I get to watch the URC, so I'm happy as a pig in a, I was going to say pig in a something, but also pig in a blanket, not quite happy because pig's dead in that case. It would be a sausage. 86% possession at the moment for Moana. The Hurricanes also adding the additional 2, so making the score now 7 points to 5, but back in possession of the ball now. It is going to be Moana. What's the Hurricanes prone to make them lose this game if it doesn't go their way? So at the moment, the line-out's been a bit shaky for the Canes, although they've managed to get that ball back in the breakdown now, going short side. Peter Lakai out to Whinia Nofo, decides to put the boot in behind. It's going to be a foot race between him and Patrick Pellegrini. Now, last time he won it, but Pellegrini gets it this time. And good to see the Hurricanes with the 6-2 split. Why are New Zealand teams so reluctant to do that? I think it's just down to injuries. A little bit anyway, because, you know, we look at this game. Lucky they did have the additional forward because Brad Shields is already out there after only like 5 minutes. He was out there for Hugo Plummer. So, yeah, I think it's just down to the fact that if a back gets injured, you're pretty much, you know, you should become a politician, always playing a neutral. I'd absolutely hate to be a politician. In fact, that would be one of the worst jobs I can think of being, to be honest. But no, like it's one of those ones. People made a big deal of it, but at the end of the day, both sides are still playing, and I get to watch both of them, so it's no problem for me. I think the overs will be 29.5 for the first half. How's the game looking, says Eddie? Well, Moana started quick, but the Hurricanes now starting to come back into it. Now, the benefit you've got is both these sides love scoring tries, and we saw that between Moana and Fiji and draw last week. Although the Canes, their last game that they played was pre-season up against the Chiefs, they didn't score a single point. But they have already got 7 here, and Callum Harkin looking to get this back line alive once more for the Canes. looking after the short side. Brett Cameron tries a little flick pass out the back door. Tried to be a little bit too fancy, but good fancy footwork from Josh Morby. Bumps off too. Goes to Brett Cameron. He smashed sideways by Miracle Whailangi. And that's just a little knock on from the Canes. And if Moana's current roster newer than most of all Super Rugby teams or what? Pretty much, yeah, they've got a lot of new players. I think there's about 7 or 8 debutants for just this game alone. They lost, I believe it was 15 players last year due to players going overseas, sabbaticals, and just everything of those lines. So, yeah, very different looking team. And currently looking pretty handy, although this is not good. Another injury here. That looks like it is Tavita Offa, who will have to make his way onto the field. And this is a massive shame. This is Israel Leota on Moana Pasifika debut. He had a really good run early on. He's a massive individual. I think he's like 6'5", and he's normally out on the wing. But his day and maybe season is now done. So we've already seen 2 players go down from the first 15 minutes of this game. And it's Kenny Naholo still playing for the Hurricanes. I believe he is. He just hasn't had a huge amount of time because of the amount of injuries that he has been dealing with, particularly that long one from last season. Bring the Moana power, be the bomb squad, says Ruby, but now kicking it down. Fielder will be Patrick Pellegrini. That one's gone into touch. The Hurricanes will have an attacking chance just a little bit outside of Moana's 22. We're only 15 minutes through this game, but we see it there. As he landed, it looked like the already heavily strapped knee then end up just taking... Oh, no, that was Miracle Whailangi. He was fine. In that scenario, that's quite bad from Sky. They didn't even know the difference between Miracle Whailangi and Israel Leota. But no, it wasn't that injury, or at least that shot that they showed that caused the injury for him. It was something else. Eritara Eneri, nice inside ball, goes off to Brayden Yossi. He's lost the headgear at this stage. There's an advantage now in favour of the Canes. Balin Sullivan, 5 metres out from the line. Eritara Eneri goes back across. We haven't seen a carry as of yet from Warner Durns, but I feel like that could be coming soon. He's calling for the ball. Here comes Durns, 3 metres out from the line. And back across to the right, finds Peter Lakai. Dragged down just short of the goalpost. Eritara Eneri, Geordie Barrett. Wide cut out past to Morby. He may have got that one down. He celebrates it with a fist bump. They might just check the touchline to see if he's all right. In terms of that line being touched, Miracle Whailangi starting. I thought they initially had him off the bench. He was going to be off the bench, but they made the late change due to Samisi Paya being out, I believe, before the game with an injury as well. So, yeah, Miracle Whailangi came into the starting lineup and became captain rather than Sam Molly, who was going to get the captaincy up until the change. What a finish, says Haino. Yeah, good finish. Oh, tell you what, it's actually closer than maybe they're giving it credit for in terms of that touchline. They'll have to check this. Oh, yeah, just kept the feet off the ground in time for Josh Morby there. Now going to make the score 12 points to 5 in favour of the Canes. Is it Grant Nisbet not knowing the names of the players again? No, it was Sky in general. They showed a replay of Miracle Whailangi jumping up for a high ball, and that was their replay of where he got injured. Except it wasn't him who got injured, it was Israel Leota. So yeah, it was down to them just getting it fed the wrong player from like the broadcasters. Geordie Barrett washed. Says Knive there. There's a good wide cut out pass though, an assist to Geordie Barrett. We're going to see the replay now. Morby, tell you what, he's done so well to keep his feet from touching the ground there. Once again, though, it's pretty close, and they probably should have TMO'd it. It was definitely a bit closer than first insinuated. Anyway, if Moana somewhat do really good by the end of the Super Rugby comp, even if they don't make the finals, would this be really surprising due to the newer roster? I would say relatively, but at the same time, Moana had all of the tools to be able to do well last year. Not just down to the players. Oh, Peter Luck, guys, at a foot race. The ball's just going to beat him, though. As it was kicked downfield from the Canes. They'll have to go right back to where it was taken from. But yeah, like, they had the tools there, and a lot of people said it was down to just Stadi Savia, but they've had a few really young, talented players brewing for a while. You look at Miracle Whailangi, Samisi Tupo Taieloa. I think Pellegrini is one of the best visionary number 10s in the whole competition across all sides. So, you put all those little tools together, the power of their backline, it shouldn't be surprising if they do well. But just because of the inexperience of the teams, I think that a lot of people have counted them out. Closer than I thought, says Haino there. And also we have got there, and you need to wash this pads at a knife. Now scrum feed here inside of the Moana Pasifika half. Currently 65% possession for Moana, 35% for the Canes. But they've had more time in the opposition, 22, and also a much higher tackle completion, 93%. Moana sitting 50%, but they've only made 6 tackle attempts. And Lakai looking rapid. Yeah, he had some real good pace there, which is great to see, because only last season or the season prior, it looked like he was nursing a bit of a knee injury. I think it was just down to a busy Bunnings NPC season on top of a Super Rugby season 2. And got more guests arriving, says Bruce there. Now 20 minutes through in this contest as well. And that is that Bulls-Boland game, isn't it? How those two sides are playing is just a warm-up type match. I did see that the Lions struggled up against, was it the Pumas, in a bit of a warm-up. Nicely taken out on the wing. It is Tavita Offa, made his way onto the field due to the injury of Israel Leota. Now Nini goes away to the left-hand side, but we're already 20 minutes through this contest, and it is much more competitive than many did anticipate. Little grubber attempted in behind from Pellegrini, goes straight into the hands of the man on his outside. Now, big knock on from James Polinaiti, and now an attacking opportunity on the counter for the Canes. They've got Devon Flanders going now to Harkin Fihifinia Norfo, waiting for it on the outside, doesn't quite get it away. Now Flanders breaks through for a couple more metres. Where is Michael Jones' son playing these days? Is he not at Moana? I'm not actually. Did he end up at the Blues? Nico Jones. Right, there is a double knock on there by the looks of it. I'll have a look. I'm not actually sure whether or not he ended up Blues bound or whether he stayed with Moana. No, he's actually Old Glory DC. But that was in 2024 that he ended up going to the USA. I'm not sure whether or not he's still there or whether he's ended up somewhere else now. Mr. Kiwisu, how you doing? How's the game been so far? It's been fast-paced and a lot more competitive than first anticipated, which is great news. It looks like Hugo Plummer. He has also made his way back out onto the field, got some strapping on the head. Any vets on the Canes side on the field? Currently, surprisingly quiet in the game. So Brad Shields was on, but he's now gone back off for Hugo Plummer. He's probably the most experienced veteran of the side. They've got Geordie Barrett there as well, who's got a fair amount of caps for this Canes team as well. So the first half says our underdog pick. And Geordie looking sharp says dunk in there too. Just showing Warner Durns, he's looking a little bit gassed at the moment. He's staying down, waiting for that next scrum to take place. So I'm not sure what's happened to him, but yeah, he's just on his knees, waiting for the next scrum. I haven't really seen many players do that. Most of the time, they'll get back up, they'll have a bit of a chat to a teammate. He was just chilling, and he's still taller than half the people. But now, you need to feed this ball in on the halfway line. I want the Islands to get better every year. They gave us John Olomu. Back then, what a legend, good old days. Says Ruby. But now ready to put this ball in. Going off to the left-hand side. Nicely carried forward. And that was Penny showing off his power. Pellegrini went for the kick in behind, but it's claimed by Geordie Barrett. Well read. And that might be a deliberate knockdown. It's a penalty. I don't think it's going to be anything more for Tavita Offa. They may just still check this one. It is the intentional knock on. Told to keep on rolling and keep this game moving. Yeah, Warner Durns is still having a little bit of a breather. Right, they're going to get the line out going. That is something that Super Rugby have kind of said that they want to do as well, just keep the game flowing for the 80 minutes. It's Brett Cameron who's actually down at the moment. Good reffing. Says dunk. It looks like, oh my goodness, what's happened to his leg? Okay, Brett Cameron's not continuing this game, ladies and gents, because his knee, that's actually really brutal. Everyone who's just seen that one, your knee's not supposed to look like that. His knee wasn't really looking like it was too connected to the bottom of his leg. The knee was way up. They're saying it's just precaution. It's not precaution. His leg almost fell off. So Billy Proctor will make his way on. That is an ugly looking knee right there for Brett Cameron. We see it when he tries to get up. I think it might pop out. But yeah, that's not how your leg's supposed to look. No matter what angle you're sitting it at on the ground. Like, yeah, I think that's going to be a season ender. And once again, they're going to be in a similar situation to what we saw last year, which involves bringing in a 10 as either... I mean, last year, who'd they have? They had Harry Godfrey get some opportunities in that 10 jersey, and it comes down, well, once again, 6-2 split. It's a little bit risky. Dislocation most likely of the socket, hopefully nothing broken. And we think Harkin to 10, then Geordie to fullback and Proctor to midfield. It might be an option, but they've only now got Cam Roigard to make his way off the bench. My knee sometimes looks like that when I ride my bike. Nasty. I hope it's just patella, says Dunk. Yeah, it does bring Billy Proctor out there onto the field now. I just looked on the Moana Pasifika website. Nico Jones is in the squad, must be down the pecking order. I see they also have a Japanese player, Mamoru Harada, in the squad. Oh, okay, so there's actually quite a few Japanese players who come over. That knee, I concur, says Simon there. Yeah, it did not look good. And I feel like the first initial reaction when they were looking at it, they didn't realise the angle because they thought, oh no, Brett Cameron's down. But if you looked at the knee not supposed to do that. Okay, Angus Garner just having a bit of a chat to some of the Canes players as well. Riley Hohepa started quite a few games at 10 for them. That is true. He's another guy that they may look at bringing in. Unless, of course, this is some sort of miracle. Ruben Love to 10. Ruben Love injured for 5 weeks or something, I think, as how long Love's out for. Maybe it's a little bit less than that, but an ankle injury at the moment for Ruben Love, so nowhere to be seen for this game. We have got there, puts another dimension in there. I'm confused. He has a lot of spare time. I can't even remember what the original name was. Who was it? It was Knive. Knive, have you got nothing better to do than just spam? Like, surely you've got some level of IQ that you could use in the comment section. I notice you don't display the try scorers on the screen now, says Pro Pleb. That is true. Mainly because in Super Rugby there's so many of them. So it normally gets a little bit tricky to keep track. And anyone see Moana Pasifika winning? They're doing all right at the moment. 24 minutes through in this matchup. So they've got a chance. Is Larkin at 10 now? They haven't actually shown anything just yet of where they're rotating. But I think that's the obvious choice. Love also haircut injury, says Dunk. And they have Lucas Cashmore, who was a serviceable 10, says Freshman. And in the next season for years, what crazy signing could Moana have? Who do you think would give a thought of joining? See, it's a tricky one because you got to think of those guys overseas who aren't past their prime, because I feel like they still want a young, exciting option. Trying to think through who they could go with who's playing overseas. Although, to be fair, if you're talking about veterans and whatnot, it would be quite cool to see someone like a Stephen Luatua do a season at the end or something like that. Malakai Fekatoa, another guy that maybe you could look at. Jordan Taufua. I don't know whether or not those guys would be on good enough money coming back to Super Rugby from France, but anyone like that who's been around for a long time to pass on a little bit of knowledge, or you go the other option and look for a young guy. But that's kind of what they've been doing with the 7 setup as well. You know, you see guys, I'd actually like to see Va'a Pilo Maleko, to be fair, get a bit more of a chance for Moana. Geordie Barrett, they are just showing, won a URC title with Leinster last year. Of course, he was one of those key players. Manu Tuolangi, spoken about our local Samoan radio. That would be a big signing. If Tuolangi was to go there, they are still taking Brett Cameron off the field, ladies and gents, which is why we've had a little bit of a stoppage of play. Anyone who didn't see it, you probably don't want to, as Knee did not look flash whatsoever. Recently coming back from a big injury, and now has got himself another one here. Looks like both sides are just trying to keep their players warm at this stage, just having a few little jogs around. And we have got their anyone see Pacifica winning as well there. I think they'll be all right. I think if they can keep this close at halftime, they've got a chance. But they have to be close. Within 7 at halftime, I'd say, is their best bet. Moana actually looking to signing players that miss out on the Warriors. If they play, or is the player they signed from the Broncos playing today? That was Israel Leota, wasn't it? Was he the one who was at the Broncos? Israel Leota? Yeah, he's already injured. Probably season ender from the first 5-10 minutes of this game. So, yeah, he's going to be out for the season now, more than likely, or hopefully, optimistically, only like 5-6 weeks. I must be serious if it's taking this long. Yeah, well, they probably have to decide whether or not they want to try and pop his knee back in. And also, they just have to get him into a comfortable position to be able to take him off the field. But yeah, his knee did not look good. Like, his knee was up here and his shin was down there. Like, it was really severely separated. There'll be a good chance to see what he can do. How long is each half? Each half is 40 minutes, although this half's feeling a little bit longer, predominantly because of the injury. But he is now, oh no. Okay, they've decided not to use the stretcher. Instead, they're going to carry him off here, Brett Cameron. I'm sure they've already given him that green whistle. Try and take some of the pain away from him, but that's going to be a painful one for Cameron, that is for sure. Definitely after, like we mentioned, just coming back recently from a big injury. I've already lost Ruben Love for some of the season. It's going to be a tough one now for the Canes in that 10 department. And they still have the rest of this game to try and sort out. Have a Super Rugby expanded with more teams. Which city from New Zealand could get their own team in the future? I don't know if they'd add another team for Super Rugby. Like, I feel like it wouldn't be as warmly welcomed as like the call for another team in the NRL for New Zealand type thing. Like, I feel like they've already got, like, the 5's pretty much all you need. I don't think there'd be any other region that they look at. Maybe, like, I feel like the South Island would want another team just so that it's even. But the North Island, oh, nice run forward. Big pass on the outside for Fihi Finianofo, and he gets another try. So the Canes, they'll be waiting while that injury took place, then just come out firing and score themselves another one. Green whistle, tell me more. It's pretty much, I think it's morphine, isn't it? Or something in a little whistle to be able to suck in so that you feel less pain. I saw Tony Johnson say Lucas Casey is the next Sam Cane. Don't disrespect Lucas like that. Says a Sporting Kiwi. You think Moana Pasifika will get gassed in the second one? The benefit that they've just had is a massive long kind of period where they weren't playing. But I think that's almost caused a little bit of unstructuredness from Moana. Just a missed tackle in the middle of the field and then the pass on the outside for Fihi Finianofo. Manages to do very nicely. So as the 10 says, by the way, Pat. So I'm not actually too sure who they've got situated there. I'd assume it's Callum Harkin, though. Geordie Barrett, he is going to be in charge of the kicking team now. I like to see a Queenstown team, since Islanders hardly ever play there, aside from the odd pre-season game. Would they have enough players from Queenstown to be able to make up a side? I guess it wouldn't matter too much as long as they import everyone in and have them all play and the team anyway, but it's a good backline there. Looked like Geordie Barrett was one of the first receivers in that scenario. Well done, the Canes. I go for a good game, says Stefan, and now they do lead 17 points to 5. Another missed kick off the tee from the Hurricanes. Just got jump scared seeing Jason Holland in the Hurricanes coaching box, says freshman. It's going to be kicked off once more, all nicely claimed by Fihi Finianofo once again. Double try scorer in this game. And you're back again, obviously. I don't understand it. Like, surely, like, there's rugby on. You could just literally engage in the comments like you'd normally see. The best part of it is I don't even know what you're saying half the time. So, like, you're not even offending me. Now going off to the left-hand side. Now off to the right with a little short pop pass, but Tuna Tuitama unable to hang on to it. They've ruled it as backwards, so Penny gets to hit it up again. And yeah, it would be a team for the players that don't make all the other teams, says the Sporting Kiwi. So it'd be an easy beat team, is what you're saying there. Unless, of course, they found a bit of a rhythm, maybe. I thought it was Sunday, says Ruby. And what about a team from Nelson and all the around there like Tasman? It did come across my mind, but I do think that a lot of the Tasman boys are with the Crusaders. So, like, does that mean that Will Jordan would go to Tasman? Or, like, that team rather than playing for the Satyrs? Havili, he's another guy who's up that way in terms of NPC. That one's going to be kicked downfield from Callum Harkin. Now, this one's skidding on quite nicely. It might just about pull up, which means that Moana do have to force it. As confirmed that Artie is going to Japan. He's already in Japan playing a sabbatical season. I think he's going to be back, but he did threaten that if something didn't happen with allegedly, if something didn't happen in terms of New Zealand Rugby sorting their stuff out, he was going to go overseas. So I think he's going to have to stay now because, of course, they made that big switch. Now Patrick Pellegrini, nice take there. Going off to the right-hand side, finds the hands of Braden Yossi. You can hardly recognise that bloke because he hasn't got his headgear on at the moment. I've always thought we have so much talent. It doesn't make Super Rugby. I think a new team could be very strong. There's a sporting Kiwi. That was a bit high on Geordie Barrett. Looks like it cracked him on the jaw. Now Eritara Inari going across to a Safwa Moa. Ball's still going to be there. And Gustavo says the underdog pick. And good morning. How are you, my best? We started to fast for Ramadan, says Mohaddin. And also, at least you will know when it's Tuesday, though, says BTW. Wait, why? I thought it was Thursday, says Pads are there. That's where that's come from. Now, Geordie Barrett goes across to Billy Proctor. He is on the field for Brett Cameron. Now trying to break through. Miracle Whaialangi does make the tackle there. Barrett goes off to Peter Larkai. Fihi Finianofo. He's got a hat trick, ladies. And no, he doesn't. He gives it off to Josh Morby. Unselfish. Trying to make it an easier kick. That shows how much he backs Barrett off the tee. But it's the try now for Josh Morby. That's now his second. So Fihi's decided he wants a race for a hat trick, and both men now have two. Is there a big city that doesn't have a team? All the New Zealand Super Rugby teams from big cities, maybe Tauranga, could field a team if they expanded, says Mark. Did the under-20 Georgians win? I actually have no idea what happened in that game, if I'm being honest, but another break and run here for the Hurricanes. They are just making light work of those wing channels. And then Fihi Finianofo unselfishly passes it on the inside to run it round. Selfless play says dunk. And this is where Geordie Barrett really needs to get this kick over, because or else then they've made it an easier kick for his sake. Can he get this one, Geordie Barrett? Oh, he does. So it worked out in the end. An additional 2 points scored by the Hurricanes, making the score now, I believe, 24-5, even though the scoreboard says 24. Finianofo is a big loss for New Zealand Rugby. Something needs to be done about all these players we're losing, says the sporting Kiwi. Yeah, massive player to lose, unfortunately. Definitely because I feel like we haven't seen the best of him yet. We're starting to. Of course, we saw for the Sevens what type of talent he can be, and that was when he was still pretty young in his Sevens and Union career. Do you think England will win tomorrow? Who are they playing? They're playing Ireland, aren't they? They'll have a decent chance, I would say. It will be an intriguing game. I feel like there's a lot of people who are going to be having that match as their hate watch for the weekend. But I'm going to enjoy it. Second half might be, I have Moana firing back. Some crazy trademark of Moana sometimes. It's Fihi Finianofo, a new player for the Hurricanes. He was there last year. Didn't get a massive amount of chance. But he has been with the New Zealand Sevens as well. But, yeah, massive player for them to be losing. And honestly could have been an AB's bolter. Are you doing a lot of games tomorrow? We certainly are. We've got the games of Super Rugby. Alongside that, we've got the games of the Six Nations and the URC. Let me see you do that same trick again. Let me see that's... Is that... I assume that's the same fella from before, right? Because I don't know what trick I'm doing. Now, this one... Oh, no, it's going to be dropped by Callum Harkin just outside of the 22. This one's going to be sitting about 30 metres out from the goal line now. It's a big chance for Moana Pasifika. They did score the first try of this contest. That was Tuna Tuitama who was able to get it. And that one's just gone straight through the hands of Harkin. See, this is where Moana... I mentioned how their best bet is to be less than... I think I said less than 7 behind, or 7 or less at the halftime break. So they would need 2 quick-fire tries to be able to get up the Canes, says Kiwi Rugby. And Harkin Shocker says Dunkia just didn't quite claim that one nicely. Though it hasn't cost his side yet. Depending on what happens here. Any NPC players I thought could have made Super Rugby surprisingly didn't. I feel like you, like the Sporting Kiwi said, you probably get a decent enough team together if you did just take the NPC guys. Now running this one for Penny, tries the no-look pass. It's going to be knocked on. So now gives the ball off to Fihi Finianofo. He's got Morby with him. Those two are fighting for a hat-trick, but that one's gone into touch. The option now of the line-out or the scrum for Moana Pasifika. And up the game, says Kiwi Rugby. You look very happy, says Mohadeen. I mean, to be fair, it's a Friday night. We've got 2 games back-to-back. Next game is Waratahs versus Fiji and draw. So that's pretty great. And Upper Canes in there as well. And over there, shut up. Hamish, what's up with that here? Who's here we talking? Because I know that a lot of people asked that question about Ruben Love. When he first decided to go for that bleach blonde look. Now in the middle of the field, Pulanaiti runs it forward. Did have that hand there about 20 minutes ago. That was when they were dominating in terms of the possession. Is it Saturday by you? It is still Sunday. The trick they did, or that did the draw. Oh, yeah, that is true. Yeah, they did very well. In terms of they just repeatedly scored, didn't they? In that regard. They will need plenty more in the gas tank. A lot of good players. They don't make Super Rugby go to the MLR and then return for the NPC. That's true. Like, MLR actually has, when you look through at the squads, there's a lot of guys there that you go, oh, so that's where they're playing. That's going to be nicely taken inside of the 22 this time by Callum Harkin. How's it Sunday? How's it Sunday? No, we're Friday here. I better do my job so Hamish doesn't have to do it for me, says Pedza. And also they are watching from France. Hopefully Moana will fire back in the second. And Tommy Raffle has been left out as a complete joke. Same with Ross Moriarty and no Jake Ball. Steve Tandy is out of depth. Says QQQ. Yeah, it's a tricky job at the moment, and trying to work out the selections for the Welsh. They had some really good moments. You said it was Sunday. If I did, then it was obviously a big mistake on my part because we're still Friday night here in New Zealand. Ioane Moananu. I'll be first pick in the New Zealand team. He said still Sunday instead of still Friday. Well, there you go. Time traveling. He said it was Sunday. I probably wish it was Sunday, but no, it's still Friday here. Now back into the pocket. Patrick Pellegrini going to be kicking this one downfield. Nicely taken by Geordie Barrett. Pellegrini follows up with a great low tackle. Paul Wales says Big Rick, and I hope Wales Rugby can get a new board and a completely new CEO and leadership. Says QQQ. Ball's there for Eritara Enery. And that one's going to be another penalty. And he's back again. I just find it really pathetic. I feel bad because I'm sure he's a child. But once again, nothing better to do throughout a whole game than just spam the same boring stuff over and over again, looking for attention that your mother and father didn't give you. Like, it's just do something else. At least talk about the game while doing it. That was the good thing about you last week, is you're at least going on about the players. But now you're just boring. Now, Asafo Moore, ready to throw this one in. Nicely taken by Warner Dunes. That is one of the more successful lineouts we've seen from the Canes throughout this game. We have got there, then we get rid of Steve Tandy after that and perhaps go after Dave Rennie or Jamie Joseph. Yeah, well, to be fair, one of them won't have the All Blacks job. Little knock on there from the Canes on the ground. That does bring another opportunity for Moana. There's been a few handling errors here, and you could put that down to the fact that this is the first game for the Hurricanes. They were missing last week. It was boring, says Jasmine. That knife fella. We have got there, just getting rid of them now from the live stream, says BTW Patsy. Yeah, you can only give them so many lifelines before you just decide it's not worth it. Want to see Durns with some carries? Yeah, we haven't actually seen him other than one run. I believe it was 7 meters out from the try line. He got to about 3 meters out. Other than that, I don't think he's actually carried the ball throughout this game, which is a shame because like that is one of his main things that he's able to do for Japan time and time again. And we have got there, we know what you want, Russie, but you can't get him, says Ruby. We have got there, it's multiple ones too. Yeah, he's got too much free time. That's pretty much what it comes down to. But once again, if it was talking about the game, go for it. But when it's just like swearing, thinking you're cool because you know swear words, it's just not that great. But now scrum feed here, once again on the halfway line. Jason Holland, the Hurricanes assistant coach, watching on. Currently only 3 minutes remaining. Hamish, I think that is Scotland. Get rid of their manager. They really should approach Scott Robertson. That would be cool. Yeah, although I don't think Scott Robertson can go to Scotland until I think it's 12 months from when his contract or the contract fell apart for the New Zealand. Just due to any injuries. So far, we've had 4 injuries in this game. So the first one happened before the game even got underway, which was Samisi Paya. Then from there, we saw, oh no, that's a knockdown from Warner Derns. He was trying to go for the ball, but couldn't quite bring it in. From there, we've seen was Israel Leota. He ended up injury with a knee. Hugo Plummer went off for a bit of a cut, but he's gone his way back out onto the field. And then also we saw Brett Cameron with probably a season ender as the other one. Do New Zealand have a new coach? Not yet. But we at least know that Dave Rennie and Jamie Joseph don't want to co-coach. They've both said we want the main job and we're not going for anything other than that. I guess Scotland could still approach him but they would have to wait until January of 2027 until we would be able to coach their first game, even if he managed to get them, or even if they managed to get him this year. Yeah, it will be interesting because Townsend seems to be one who's up and down at the moment. And whether or not they'll keep him around or whether they'll look at other possible options. Now, bonus point currently is in play for the Hurricanes as they have scored 3 or more than their opposition. Just 90 seconds now left in the half. Now, Nyini. They've got Matavao off of the bench. And Dave Rennie and Jamie should have to fight in a cage for the job. Who would win that fight, though, to be fair? I don't actually know. I think Dave Rennie, he'd have a little bit of fight in him, wouldn't he? Jamie Joseph probably would plan it out a little bit better. He'd try and keep range, but I think Dave Rennie would just rush him like a bull, wouldn't he? Now, Patrick Pellegrini, after the penalty is awarded, off of that scrum penalty, they are now 15 metres out from the try line. Big chance here. You think Moana will fade more in the second half? A little bit. I think that they'll come out firing in the early stages, but they really do need something before the end of this half to give them a bit of hope here. Like being down by 19 points might be just a little bit too much. But being down by 12, that's a little bit of a different story. Still not great, of course. But, yeah, they need quite a few moments. Oh, great work from Warner Derns there at line-out time. Managed to rip that one away in favour of the Hurricanes. That ball's not going to come out. And now it will be scrum feed for the Canes. Jamie looks like he might have better stand-up. I feel Dave Rennie better on the ground, says the Sporting Kiwi. I think, Hamish, that if Wales do get a new board, and they do get rid of Steve Tandy, Pat Lamb, I'll be the most likely option. They would still get, since he would like to do it one day, says Q. Again, it's just about what's going to work out, isn't it, in terms of schedules and timing. There's a bit of sun coming through. I'm starting to disappear. I think that's coming through. Yeah, it's coming through. There's going to be a little moment. Whoa. That's going to make it hard to read, isn't it? Luckily, we're almost at halftime, though, so I'll just go close that curtain once we get to the halftime break. But I'm not actually disintegrating, ladies and gentlemen. It is just that the sun has snuck in. In fact, if I go like, hang on. I had a good plan for this last time. All I got to do is grab something, put it here. That's going to be hard to balance. 1 second. We'll go like that. There we go. I don't have to get up now. Apparently, Jamie is fine with keeping the current assistants if he gets the job, and that is a penalty now to the Hurricanes. They can tap this and kick it into touch. Well, they might look to go downfield here. It does look like the downfield option might be the one that they're looking at. Callum Harkin. Yep, they are going to put this one into touch. They've got 2 men looking for those hat tricks. And you're being abducted, says Ruby. I thought we lost you there, says Ruby. No, the sun almost got me. You guys know how pale I am. Can't afford to be in the sun for more than half a second. And also, Yo TKL, I haven't been on stream for a while, says Def Reaper. It's been quite a while, Def Reaper. Probably was it last Super Rugby or was it a little bit later than that? But yeah, hopefully you're doing all right. I think that trial that came in earlier to annoy you probably roasted you so bad. That's why you were disintegrating jokes, says Q. And hasn't Jamie worked with Scott Hansen? I think so. I think those two have been intertwined at some stage. Last Super, says Def. Yeah, so it's been almost a year in that regard. But yeah, hopefully you are still doing well and enjoying life. Callum Harkin, that's a terrible pass from Peter Larkai. He's tried to slap that one backwards. It's gone forward by about 4 metres, and that will be the end of the first half. Score 24 points to 15 in favour of the Hurricanes. 2 tries for Fihi Finianofo. He could have had a hat-trick, but decided against it. Like, for real, I really thought he did something when he made a joke out of himself, says Q. And answer for the AB's coach, says BTW. The interesting thing about Hansen for the coach, if you're talking about, what, are you talking about Scott or are you talking about Steve? Because they're very different. 30 years of Super Rugby for this season, and already we've seen 30 points almost scored in this game, 29 at the moment, but we will get 30 by the end of it. Steve. Okay. It's probably, I think it wasn't it Steve Hansen and Ian Foster were going to be like a bundle deal. But I don't know whether or not it's going to happen. You said 24-15. Getting my hopes up here, says Ruby. I spend lots of time in the sun without getting burnt, eating lots of butter and fatty meats, says Bruce. I do consume a lot of butter, still get burnt. And to be fair, quite a bit of meat too. Don't take that one out of context. But half time in this one, currently the 6-2 split of the Hurricanes, probably lucky that they did have that additional forward in some regards, but at the same time, we saw the injury of Brett Cameron, which now means that Billy Proctor has made his way onto the field. Only Cam Roygaard to make his way off in the second half, or make his way on. And then in terms of the forwards, we saw a brief stint from Brad Shields. From there, Hugo Plummer went back on. I like those retro jerseys they have out at the moment. I'm a Chiefs supporter, but the Blues one looks real nice, says the Sporting Kiwi. Yeah, I think it is for the 30-year anniversary, isn't it? I wonder if they're doing that Marvel thing again that they did. Good crowd size. Nice game. Didn't realise was early. Miss Moana try, says Morris. So, yeah, nice early try from Tuna Tuitama in there. Your thoughts on the World Cup table? Worked out a little bit too good in some regards. Like, in terms of, I wanted straight away, I'll say as the Rugby World Cup draw was about to take place, I said an awesome opening contest with the way that it can work out would be New Zealand versus Australia, just like it was for the Rugby League World Cup. And it worked out, but then they decided, you know what, we're not going to do that. We're going to go Australia versus Hong Kong, China, because that's the match everyone wants to see and the match everyone is looking forward to. But yeah, the way that the draw worked, it just set up that it was always going to be South Africa and New Zealand on the same side of the draw, right from about I think it was about the third or fourth last part of it. I was like, yep, this is happening. You're doing Warriors versus Dolphins? No. Hopefully doing some of the NRL season, but sadly won't be able to do any of the preseason. Let off says the underdog pick. And we have got there, Geordie done good for me. So far, 24 points. He'll be playing the full game too. Says BTW Padser. Did you see Germany winning the first sevens too? As in, like, did I see it? Or, like, did I see it coming? Because two different things. And then Hamish, proper butter, I hope. Not margarine. No, some proper butter in there. I cook me eggs and me proper butter. But, yeah, in terms of Germany winning, they weren't supposed to do it. In some regards, I think that was Kenya's one to win, but they lost that one game, or like it can completely change it. Did you see it coming? Germany are a good side, and to be fair, they were one of the sides who were on tier 2. But I would have thought USA, Germany, or Kenya, they were my 3 that I thought had a really good chance. I felt like USA weren't going to fire as well in this first tournament just because they've had that time away in Kenya, of course, in front of the home crowd. But Germany were top 3 for me, and probably will be at the end of it. Buttered eggs kinky, says Ruby, and happy Ramadan, Hamish. Says Peps Wax. I got a feeling that Australia is going to come very strong. World Cup and the home too, says the Sporting Kiwi. Well, the thing is, if they beat New Zealand, they get South Africa in the the quarterfinals, isn't it? Moana needs to sing a hymn during the break to come back, and Australia need a proper 10, says Dunk, and there as well. They're just saying there about the little bit of a sloppy start that we saw from the Hurricanes in this contest. But from there, they managed to find their rhythm. Their wingers have scored 4 tries so far in this matchup. No one else scoring. In fact, it's been all wingers. 5 tries in this match. 1 for Moana, 4 for the Canes. Every single try has been scored by a winger. So not a good day to be a forward in terms of the try-scoring tally, but still some important work that has been done. Ben Donaldson is good. Meredith from the Brumbies are also good, says the Sporting Kiwi. Yeah, we got that Waratahs versus Fiji and Drua game just around the corner. I do like, at the moment, Lawson Creighton too, to be fair. He seems like he's doing quite well under the high ball. I don't know if he's as good as some of them on attack, but he just seemed quite safe in that first game up against the Reds last week. Would you rather lose to Australia and avoid South Africa or beating South Africa and Australia? Says Kiwi Rob. Well, I think until they get a coach, we don't really know if beating South Africa is high up the list for the Kiwis. We've got to see them play them during the July internationals too. But, of course, they always say to be the best, you got to beat the best. So, if you did go that route in terms of those sides that you have to beat, and be impressive. Doesn't Lakai have to? He does not. 2 tries for Josh Morby and 2 for Fihi Finianofo. Good afternoon, neighbour, Mr. Hamish. Pub's full of Kiwi supporters, says JD. And Cully filling out that jacket opposite of his jersey in the playing days. Says Dunk. Currently we have seen almost, in fact, just over double the metres made from the Hurricanes in this contest, 240 compared to the 118 of Moana Pasifika. 11 defenders beaten for the Hurricanes compared to the 6 of Moana. Well, we have got this halftime break as well. We will show you what is coming up for these two sides. The Hurricanes, they have got a game next week that is up against the Fijian Drua, the early Saturday fixture taking place. Then from there, the Tars the week after on Friday night. They actually have a little Friday night run where they have 3 games in a row as the Friday 7:05, and then that afternoon game up against the Reds. That has taken place at the end of March for Moana. In terms of what they have got coming up, they have got their match up against the Western Force next week. Then they play the Chiefs, then the Blues. They go from a Friday night game to a Sunday, so a nice little rest period there for them, about a 9-day turnaround there. And then they play the Crusaders and then the Highlanders. So pretty tough at the moment for Moana in terms of the sides that they've got coming up. That Western Force game, I would say, if Moana want to be inside of that top 6, they have to win that contest, because a lot of these other games, it's going to be hard to win. But as we've seen here, Moana showed a little bit of fight. They just then lost their bearings a little bit as the match went on. I miss if I use my dad's device now that I'm watching the stream, says Kyle there. So yeah, it is good to have you here once again, Kyle. And also we get their flying Hurricanes, says JD. Yeah, some really impressive work from this Cane side when it comes to what they've been able to do in this first half. Their wingers have been scoring tries for fun. It's a race at the moment for the hat-trick, so do let me know. Is it going to be Fihi Finianofo or is it going to be Josh Morby who does score the next try? For anyone who doesn't want to spell Finianofo, just put, you know what, we'll go J for Josh Morby, F for Fihi Finianofo. Who's going to get the hat-trick in this one, ladies and gents? How many wins do you think teams need without bonus points? Without bonus points. I feel like that's a tricky one to calculate because everyone's going to have at least a few bonus points. But normally if you're winning 50% of your games, you've got a decent shot of going through. And I'll show you the table from last year just as a little bit of a comparison. They're just showing it there for Brett Cameron, the season-ending injury potentially from what we saw earlier on in this contest. I hope it's not, but at the same time, he's had so many injuries of similar fashion, which makes you just wonder whether or not it could be another one for Brett Cameron. There we go. So, as you can see there, even sides 6 and 8, the Blues with their bonus points, that is actually what got them through to the next stage of the competition. As without them, they'd only have 24, and then Moana would have been ahead of them. So, you need those bonus points considered as well, but more than 50% means you're going through pretty much guaranteed. It's around that 6, 8, 8 and 6, 7 and 7 that you start to see those bonus points really come into play. Cameron's folded knee and tackling. So he has dunk there. And we've got F from Def there, so going for Fihi Finianofo as the man who's going to be able to score it. What happened to Artie? He is in a sabbatical in Japan at the moment. So he's going to be away for this season. I think he's coming back the season after, but he was actually looking at a long-term Japanese deal potentially as well. I won't mind seeing Zimbabwe in the T20 final, even at the expense of the Proteas. We'll open up the game for many Tier 2 nations with aspirations, says Ruby. What do you think of the Hurricanes jersey this season? I like it. It looks nice. Got that throwback look about it as well. But I always like a bit of yellow on a kit. Brett Cameron can't catch a break. He really can't. He's had a terrible run in terms of injuries and whatnot. And, this is the first game of the year too. I'm not sure whether or not anyone remembers, but which game was it last year that he ended up with his injury in? I'm pretty sure it was real early on too, wasn't it? So, yeah, a bit of a rough one for Cameron at this stage. $24-5. Currently the score. Closing in on the second half, starting up. It might be a higher scoring second half. But we did have tries being efficiently scored, one every 8 minutes. So, that's not a lot of time. If they are going to go a bit more aggressive here, I'd like to see Moana get one or two more. I think it would set them up quite nicely. Trying to work their way towards a chance at a bonus point, although the Hurricanes, they were heavy favourites for a reason. And that was because they were expected to do very nicely throughout this matchup. We have there, Cameron was expected to miss the entire season after rupturing the anterior cruciate ligament and his left knee in training during last year's NPC. Brett Cameron, 2024. Was that his right or his left knee that we saw injured here? If the camera was flipped, it was his left again. If the camera wasn't flipped, I think it might be his right knee that he's injured this time. Can Cam Roigard, or play Cam Roigard at 10? Oh, we not have 9s who play 10. It's common in the Northern Hemisphere. Yeah, see, the last one who probably did it consistently, definitely Canes-wise, was TJ Perenara. He had a bit of time. I think it was 2 years ago, wasn't it, that he was playing a little bit of 10 every once in a while. Was it the Highlanders game? Brett got his injury early. Might be wrong. You're remembering much better than myself, to be fair, so we'll take your word for it for now. But, yeah, it's not ideal because both seasons, it's looked like he's a really decent option. And then just having an injury this early on. Like we've seen here, Israel Leota, it didn't look like his was as serious, but didn't look flash for Moana, so he might be out for multiple weeks. Ruben Love, he's out at the moment. The injury list for sides just keep on getting bigger and bigger. Piri Wepu did it too, says the Sporting Kiwi. Possibly protecting the left knee, maybe. I know that it's often talked about how if you have an injury of one leg, you sometimes overcompensate and then you injure the other leg. It was quite common back in the day, and it is quite common now too. You end up trying so hard to avoid re-injuring that you end up overexerting your other side. Cameron ruptured the anterior cruciate ligament during the NPC. He was told he would miss somewhere between 9 and 12 months thanks to stuff, says Kiwi Rob. And Piri Wepu could slot into 10 back in the day, says Freshman. So yeah, maybe they do look at Cam Roigard as some sort of backup option. Definitely while they've got Ruben Love out, although they have talked about Lucas Cashmore as well as maybe a little bit of Harkin. I just realised how much the Novus Glass guy looks like Xavier Rowe. I don't know whether or not anyone else has noticed that. I've never looked at it till now. Super Rugby Live right now says Zacharias. It is indeed. Currently waiting for the second half to get back underway. 24 points to 5. The way that it sits currently, Hurricanes scoring 4 tries, 2 for each winger, and then Tuna Tuitama, the try scorer for Moana Pasifika. You're going to need a lot more of those. Who got injured, says Marshall. So far in this game, we've seen 4 injuries. Before the game, we saw an injury of Samisi Pyre, I believe. But during this game, we've seen 3. We've seen a cut from Hugo Plummer, but has been strapped back up. He's still bleeding a little bit, but not as bad as he was. We saw Israel Leota, Moana Pasifika's number 14. He's gone off with his injury, looked like knee. And then Brett Cameron looks like a season ender. Knee was not good. Pretty much where the knee was supposed to be. It was probably a good 3 or 4 inches upwards. Looked really awkward. And yeah, it doesn't look like he's going to be back for quite some time. He made it back within 7 after 2 club matches at fullback. Cameron is named on the bench to face the Highlanders around 14, says Kiwi Rob. I saw him bend the knee, and I find those Hello Fresh commercials with Hoskins to do not saying anything and just awkwardly smiling quite hilarious, says the Sporting Kiwis. So we have seen the change. Billy Proctor here is on the field at the moment for Cameron. That is a lone change here for the Hurricanes. Moana sucks, says Darky. I mean, they started this match very well. They just haven't really found their rhythm from there. I want to see a little bit more of Warner Dunes, though, in this second half. I feel like he's one player for the Hurricanes that maybe hasn't quite performed as well as I thought that he was going to. You see Taveta Offa, here's the lone change at the moment for Israel Leota. He went off earlier with his injury. But yeah, some carrying from Warner Dunes would be great because he's a real try-scoring threat. Scored multiple for Japan throughout the Pacific Nations Cup and just looks like he can score them for fun, but they haven't actually tried to pass it to him other than maybe once in this game, but it's going to be kicked off by Callum Harkin, who looks like he is going to be continuing as that 10 option in the second half. That's a really hard landing for one of the Moana players. Now Peter Lakai going off to the left-hand side, off to Geordie Barrett. Oh, that was a forward pass from Devon Flanders. He gave it away with the grimace that he had to. They've kicked it in behind. It's going to be just inside of the in-goal area. It might have been taken back, in fact. Okay, taken on the line, they've said, so it is going to be a goal line dropout. Forward pass there. No, it was very forward, but they did leave it. And yeah, Devon Flanders gave it away because he went, as if to say, whoops, got that one wrong. But yeah, it was forward by a lot. So it should have been a scrum for Moana around the halfway line. So you think it's left or right? Leah Gamish said he's injured today. If the cameras aren't reversed, it was his right, which, you know, would be brutal because he's done all the rehab for the left. So now to have to come back out and do it for the right. It is a pretty brutal one going off to the left-hand side. Geordie Barrett goes for the grubber in behind. It's going to be cleaned up by Moana inside of the 22. Nicely taken by the young fullback, Simon Peter Tuliafoa. Oh, you've got there, as Hoskins gone after Super Rugby, who is still available. I think he's still available, isn't he? Did he sign an overseas deal in the end? Oh, actually, isn't he going to... Is he going to England? Is that when he's going? At the end of the season, maybe? Oh, or am I thinking of someone else? Because I know he locked into about 2027, but then did he change his mind? Now that one's going to be thrown in. Nicely taken by Warner Dunes. Here comes the rolling maul of the Canes. Asafua Moa, though, breaks off the back. Moves up to 22 metres out. It is a race at the moment for the hat-trick. That looked a little bit high from Abraham Polly. They've said it was shoulder on shoulder. I'm sure they will be searching it as we speak. Tackle made on Flanders, who subbed in for Brett Cameron. Billy Proctor, as the guy who made his way on, now trying to chip that one in behind was Harkin. It goes straight into the hands of Simon Peter Tuliafoa at 15. I know he's going overseas, but wasn't sure if it was straight after Super Rugby, says the Sporting Kiwi. Dalton is going overseas at the end of the year. Here's Kiwi Rob. That one's going to be booted into touch by Moana, about 30 metres out from the line now. It was quite high from Abraham Polly, but they said that it was legal. Only time Warner Dunes is getting in touch with the ball at the moment is when it is a line out. Outside of that, very little carries. The Hurricanes, they do like using their loose forwards. We've seen a lot of Flanders carrying for today. Okay, referee just giving the Hurricanes a little bit of a talking to. That's nicely taken by Devon Flanders, but the talking to was for not coming into the line out early enough. Ball's there for the Canes. Straightening run from Peter Lakai. Gets back up, has another crack. He's carried forward by Xavier Numia. Tackle has now been completed though. Now just going across here for the Canes to the left again. Oh, it's Grubbert again from Callum Harkin. I don't know if that's the right choice at the moment for the Canes. Their attack is good enough that they can get moving forward without having to kick it downfield. Big tackle on Eri Tara Ineri. You aren't winning the game playing in your own half majority of the time. Says Lisa, nice pass off. Josh Morby, he will get the hat trick first. He does score it. He salutes for the, I think that was the Tasman Marcos celebration there for Morby. Or it might have been a salute to his teammate Fihi Whinian Notho. Thoughts on the rule changes with the TMO having less power? I don't mind it, although there are some times that, like, it is still needed, the TMO. Yeah. It'll be interesting, though. It is meant to speed up the game. And I do also like the fact that referees are getting some responsibility of, being allowed to make the calls without constantly feeling like they're going to be overruled. Do you reckon it's a good tactic? Take out a key player with a red card. elbow to the temple, says Starkey. I mean, it's a risk, because if you don't knock him out, then you lose a player and you're just pretty much like still playing against him, could win you the game. But it's also, we've got to remember, that's not the mentality that a lot of these players have. Like, it's a bit of that, like, you'd almost call it the goon in hockey, wouldn't you? In terms of they have specialist players who are there just to try and take players out. Rugby doesn't really have that, or at least luckily we don't have that. But yeah, like I just don't see anyone doing it on purpose. It's a league tactic, old school, says Starkey. The problem, though, is now these players all know each other pretty well, and you're likely to play alongside one of these guys further down the line. So you don't really want to be the guy who tries to give a guy a season or a career-ending injury for the sake of your team might beat them. And top offloading says dunk there. And some players not from Tasman do the Tasman celebration. I think it's club-related possibly. Brad Weber used to do it, says the Sporting Kiwi. I also think, wasn't it something to do with... Was it something to do with the player who passed away? The ones who were friends with him still did the celebration, the Tasman Marcos one? Maybe. I think there might have been a tie there. Now going off to the left-hand side. Carrying this one forward. Moana Derns makes the tackle. Now Moana, inside of the Hurricanes half, they need a try and they need it soon because the score does not look pretty. 31 points to 5 at the moment. Miracle Whailangi, someone who needs to get his hands on the ball much more throughout the second half for his side. Got himself the hat-trick last week. Brad Weber, Hamilton boys high. Marist, I think, sevens. Says Starkey, and also Six Nations. Sean Wainui. No, not him. I think it was a Tasman man. It might have been, was it Guyton? Was he the one who was a Tasman man? Philip Martin is available for the top job. All Blacks head coach. I think they've got their main 2 or 3 at the moment by the sounds of it. They've got the guys that they're keen on. Hugo Plummer's just leaking out there on the field. He's losing a fair amount of blood. Josh Morby, also Hamilton boys high. Says the Sporting Kiwi. Ready to throw this one in. Currently 10 metres out from the line for Sam Molly. Now waits patiently to throw it in. It's gone over the top though. Back in the hands of the Canes. Peter Larkai. Little double step there. I'll be quite surprised if they actually leave Hugo Plummer out there on the field the rest of the game. With the amount that he's bleeding. It could give Warner Derns maybe the chance to still keep going. Nice offload on the outside from Harkin. Goes to Fihi Whitiananofu. He has Morby with him. Goes to him once more. He's going to go himself. Now looks for the offload to Yossi, but it wasn't quite the best pass. You can see the frustration. Yossi still says good pass there, but it was just a bit too much behind him. If I'm going to get up early tomorrow, Wales versus Scotland or England versus Ireland under 20s, I'm asking about. Says Kiwi Rob. So you're asking about. There was no question mark, though. You just had Six Nations as your last one. So you're asking which of those 2 games should you watch? I assume Kiwi Rob. Now scrum feed here for Moana. Apparently 30 metres out from their goal line, but another very dangerous chance. And still we have only had wingers scoring in this contest. Yes, I'd watch England-Ireland, I'd say, out of those 2. Because they overlap, which is slightly unfortunate, but I guess it's the only window that they could fit those games all in. Penalty now for Moana Pasifika at scrum time. Miracle Whailangi straight away saying to kick this one downfield for Patrick Pellegrini. And that one is being kicked into touch. Around the halfway line at the moment here. We're looking good so far. Geordie doing well in his return. The way they teach you to tackle in league to this day is gangster. First in wrap stop half, second in takes the leg and drop them on their back and drive the shoulder into the chest, says Starkey. And there's zero cohesion in this Moana. Made too many changes from last week. Yeah, 13 changes in their starting lineup. And like heading into this match, it was met with praise as well as criticism for Tana Umaga. Some were saying it's great that they're giving so many players a chance to keep their main guys fresh. and others were saying like it was always going to be a bit of a backfiring tactic. But, heading into this contest, Moana were $13 underdogs. So they were never given too much of a chance. That's a great bit of work in the breakdown from Vaikoso Pulanaiti. Managed just to win the penalty for Moana Pasifika on the halfway line. So 30 minutes remaining. Tavita Mafaleo, he is out there on the field currently for this Cane side. Now we have good there how you're watching the game, TV or monitor. It is on a monitor. I'm pretty sure it was guidance says MPT. I thought it was, but I couldn't quite remember, so I didn't want to throw around too many players. The sad thing is there are a few players who have passed away recently, within like the last 5 years or so. Right, Alan Craig on the field. That is for Miracle Whaialangi. So taking off the skipper in this scenario, which now means Sam Molly is back to being officially the captain like he was going to be heading into this matchup. A line-out throw. Hugo Plummer's still looking pretty bloodied at this stage. Anything can happen in 30 minutes of rugby. I'm pretty sure that Australia's out of the T20 World Cup. They certainly are. You're playing cricket tomorrow? I am not. I'm coaching juniors in the morning. And then we are going to be doing the live streams. That one's going to be knocked on. Just with that pass to Billy Proctor. Didn't quite work out. Ninny. Now passes it across to the left-hand side. Alan Craig within a few seconds already gets his first touch of the contest. Okay. He was initially on the body there, Xavier Numia, but they will go back for the penalty now. And yeah, with that, anything can happen in 30 minutes. It certainly can. Definitely with a side like Moana, like they can fire big time in a second half. They haven't really done it here yet, but a few changes just now being made. The front row replacements making their way on for Moana Pasifika. Is Dana still coaching? He certainly is. It is the debut here for, have I leaned the right way? I'll shrink my arms like that. But it is Mamoru Harada. He's making his Super Rugby debut here. 50 minutes is more than enough from Enery time to take him off, says freshman. Yeah, and I do see now Cam Royard actually has just made his way onto the field. Do see a change in that loose forward trio as well for the Hurricanes. That is Polikos come on. And let's go, says freshman. Turns out Andrew Goodman back in 2009 was the first one ever to do the fins up, says the Sporting Kiwi. Might need the boot looking at this. And now, ball's going in for Nyini, 25 metres out from the line. Moana, they need another try and they need it soon. Big driving run forward from Falatoi Penny. Will these players who have just made their way onto the bench or made their way onto the field make the difference? For Moana, there's already a penalty advantage there. Going away to the left-hand side. Azoka Japanese, he certainly is, yes. Making his Moana Pasifika debut. Now, Nini again goes back across to the replacement hooker. There is still the penalty advantage going short side. Two players were down for Moana for a little bit of time, but they're now back up to their feet. Winner the All Blacks, or winner all the All Blacks players in Super Rugby from this game to last week's New Zealand teams. I know about 6 or 7 players in total, says Park and Link. Most are returning this week in terms of the All Blacks players. A lot of guys, though, we've got to remember near the end of that November period were injured. So there's still a few guys who are waiting to come back. But, in terms of the Canes, Ruben Love's injured, so that's why he's not out there. Who else have they got from internationals? Safwa Moore, he's now back. But, yeah, it's just normally injuries or most guys are back now. Line out throw. And it has gone nicely in. 5 metres out from the line. This one's rolling forward very nicely for Moana Pasifika. Now a couple metres out. Nyini goes off to Penny. He's going to be hard to stop from there. But the Canes have done it. I believe anyway. I think they will check this. He has frustrated the Moana Pasifika inside centre Penny. So you'd assume that he hasn't managed to score it. Still no Karefi. Says the Sporting Kiwi. Is that down to injury or is that just waiting? Poor Moana wonder what they need to be a good on-field team, I assume that is, from Jeff Reaper and why the comp need to specifically make a Fiji and Pacifica team. Because all the teams are mixed, says Starkey. I mean, it's more so like where they're based a little bit. Moana Pasifika is like players from Tonga, Samoa, still maybe one from the Cook Islands. Yeah, no, that's just been dropped as he tried to go over the line. But nicely done. And Fiji and Roa, they were a team before Super Rugby as well, so they just continued on their name. Oh, does he get it down? They're showing a replay now. Oh, inches off the line. And Harkin got underneath it. And why are they taking a lineup? Their lineups haven't been functional. Yeah, okay, makes sense, says Starkey. And do not let Roygaard defend down that 12 channel. He's going to get injured, says Freshman. So it is going to be a no try. And it is a goal line dropout now. Roygaard must have been thinking of Cameron in that missed tackle, says Dunk. Why are the crowd not happy for that one? I think the crowd aren't happy because there was a knock-on in the in-goal area. Maybe. Oh, now big run forward from Paliko, I should say. Now Vantage is over. Defeat up Mafaleo. Carry forward from the replacement prop. When you're getting on Martin Devlin's show, I don't think I'll get the invite. I did see that 2 Cents and Distracted Sports were on it though, which is pretty awesome. But yeah, I don't think I'll get an invite. Too soon anyway. And open the floodgates, here's Ruby. Now going off to the right hand side, Nyini. Tropiti. There's a little bit of blood shed for him as well. He's only been on the field for a short amount of time. Oh no, he was in the number 8 jersey, wasn't he? Although they aren't All Blacks, both Harry Godfrey and Riley Higgins are still to come back for the Canes. Yeah, although they were playing in pre-season. So I think that's just down to the fact that Geordie Barrett's at 12 alongside Balin Sullivan is why Higgins isn't there. And then I think that we will see Harry Godfrey now. Oh, nice no-look pass. He doesn't get 4. Josh Morby dragged down just short. Oh, gets back up and scores anyway. Josh Morby, he is having a lot of fun out there at the moment, and still wingers are scoring tries, ladies and gents. We have not seen a try in this game that has not been scored by a winger. Now you need to email. I don't think Mark and Tony did though. So I feel like I'd rather get invited rather than try and force my way on it, if that makes sense. I feel like you've got to slightly be wanted rather than going, hey, by the way, I can do this. And Harkin is Balin. Oh, sorry, it was balling tonight. Says Freshman. That one goes over from Geordie Barrett right in front of the posts. That's now going to make the score 25 minutes remaining, 38 points to 5. It's starting to get towards that kind of scoreline that a lot of people were anticipating. Hurricanes by 40 was on the kind of more high-end edge of what people were expecting. Where's Duplessis? Oh, hang on. TMO check. Potential knock-on. Right, it could be 4 here for Josh Morby, but it also could be disallowed. Now, when you talk about 4 tries and 5, you think of Balin Sullivan for the Canes. Right, did Morby butcher this one? So he had it on the ground. You know, that's just, unfortunately for him, that is a knock-on. He didn't place it. They are saying that he was always anticipating getting 4, but I think he did fumble it just a little bit earlier than he wanted to there. Although I think they're still going to rule it as a try, are they? No, never mind. No try is the call. Knock on from Josh Morby. First TMO, yeah, I believe it is. Well, this one, the crowd are not too happy about a lovely Proctor assist, although sadly now that one has been taken away. I feel like Josh Morby's got to set up Fihi Finianofo soon, though. You know, Fihi gave him that try earlier on in the match. Morby's got the hat-trick. I feel like it would be fitting for Fihi now to get himself his hat-trick as the next try. Plus, it's only wingers who are allowed to score in this game. They must have mutually agreed, both teams, before the match, you can only score if you have an 11 or a 14 on your back. It is going to be the scrum feed now for Moana Pasifika. 5 metres out from their own line. So another game around the corner, ladies and gents. That will be the Fijian draw going head-to-head with the Waratahs. At least they got rid of the rule where you can't go back to check a no try once the goal kick is taken. Says freshman there. That one's going to be kicked downfield from Penny. 4 Hurricanes subs. So that's going to be Hugo Plummer going off. And it looks like once again it's going to be Brad Shields. Maybe making his way on. Yeah, it is. Which means that Warner Durns, he's still out there. But they do still have their number 19 as a potential swap here. And Pattaya, I think they might give him a bit less time though later on. Oh, nice take from Durns, slapping it back to Cam Roygar. A bit of a rough pass there, but it does still find the hands that he was after. Offload from Flanders. Goes now to Billy Proctor. Now breaking through. Chance here to pass on the outside to Barrett, but couldn't quite free it up. Morby was also calling for it. Oh, another rough pass there from Cam Roygar. I think it may have possibly been touched by Moana Pasifika. Now Shields goes across. Geordie Barrett looking for the cross kick. It looks like Flanders. That was not the choice. They had about 7 on the overlap. Barrett went for the cross. And it does go into touch, as what was said. But I've seen 1 or 2 go back after the kick last year. International 2. And how did you decide Roygaard is best in at the moment when he hasn't been playing for months? Says Lisa. Now this one's going to be thrown in by Moana Pasifika again, just a 5 metres out from their line. They have to start getting a little bit of territory in their favour here. So they could find themselves only a matter of time before they concede. I wonder if, is it the support play of the Canes that's been so dangerous, or is it the fact that Moana have had so many clean breaks against them as to why we're only seeing the wingers score in this game? Offload from Balin Sullivan. And Roygaard's passing says dunk. Now going back across, Callum Harkin thought about going short to Geordie Barrett, who just overran it a little bit. What app can I watch live? I'm not actually sure what apps have it, but I know that Sky Sport here in New Zealand is the main broadcaster. Stan Sport in Australia, Roygaard hesitantly hangs on. For tackle by Milani Mataval. Pick and go there. And on the side from Whitney Norfolk, Warner Durns now. Second carry for him throughout this contest. Yeah, Moana just need to start making a few more tackles. Oh, big knock on from Brad Shields. Gives the ball to Tavita Offa. Ball's there. Pick and go around the side again from Moana. Almost moving up to 40 metres out. Pick and go for a third time. It seems to be a tactic that is working quite nicely at the moment. Made them about 15 metres. William Harvilli goes for the chip and behind. Ball sits up for him. He's tackled by Proctor. 40 metres out now from the Canes line. Told to release him. Cross to the right, Alan Craig. Currently still another 21 minutes left in this matchup. I'm watching on Stan Sport. Says Lisa there. Oh, and that's going to be a penalty to Moana Pasifika. It's Jacob Devery who has been penalised in the breakdown. No clear rolling away from Devon Flanders. He has had a pretty big game, Flanders, even though he hasn't had a try. He's had some good work in the breakdown, except for, of course, that one, but he's had a lot of carries. Been a busy man out there on the park. William Harvilli. He kicks that one into touch. And just see it there from William Harvilli. Little chipping behind. Made a lot of metres, though, Moana. And time for Shields to hang it up. Says freshman. I still like him out there, though, for the Canes. I feel like he's taught a lot to the younger guys, but I feel like there's definitely coaching in his future if he does go down that route. Who's playing team for the Canes at the moment? Callum Harkin. Sliding in, great steal with the line out from Warner Durns. Now the Canes sitting 10 metres out from their line will look to exit the 22. Is it still the same coach the Hurricanes had last season? I know that they've got they were showing their assistant coach. Who was their Clark Laidlaw, wasn't it, as the main coach last year? I think. Now another line out for Moana Pasifika. They're starting to get a little bit more territory just in the last little while, but this game is all but done and dusted. Same coach from last season, Laidlaw. I told you about their lineups. Says Eliza, that one was almost stolen in the air from Devon Flanders, who almost, once again, even after losing the line out, had another crack at it. Melani Matavao. It's a hard landing on the tailbone there for Leva. 40 metres out. Matavao goes left. Alan Craig trying to fend off Cam Ruigard. Devon Flanders almost looking for the steal on the breakdown again. And we have got there, why would you put a 12 as captain? Says Martin. We've seen it with a few teams. Who would you go with instead then as the captain for the Hurricanes if it wasn't Barrett? That one's kicked downfield from Ruigard, saw a bit of open space trying to get something. Oh, whoa, that was a mistake and a half from William Harvilli. He's actually taken a really nasty knock to the back of his head here. And it is going to be play on. Now short side. Ball shoveling on. Poldy Dickety Stones. Here's Warner Durns with him, who cuts back in. It was just a little bit too late. Poldy Dickety Stones hanging on to it for too long. Wanted the glory. Now big wide cutout pass. The spin there. Offload. Geordie Barrett goes to Hark, and they've got like 7 men out here. And it will be the try for Braden Yossi. And he is the first man to score who isn't on the wing. We have got there, I should go to someone from number 1 to 8, Peter Larkai, says Martin. The Kiwis doing up in the hills of Karori. I actually don't know, to be fair. But 18 minutes at the moment remaining, and we've finally had a non-winger try. It was a mistake there from Harvilli. He's actually probably concussed himself on the arse cheek of his teammate, which is not ideal. But then from there, a good offload, and then so many numbers there. Josh Morby was considering calling for it on the outside to get himself a 4th, but Braden Yossi does do very well. And Callum Harkin, to be fair, he's taken on this number 10 jersey very nicely. Peter Larkai is the man, also Devon Flanders. Could be the goods. And ain't Tana captain of the ABs. He played 12 as captain, I think. Says Red 7. There's quite a few sides that do have a back as the skipper. That one's going to go over. From the Hurricanes, Geordie Barrett converts, making the score now 38-5. Captain should go for the front row players. Oh, right, another injury here. It's William Harvilli, although we didn't know about that one. That was due to the collision with his teammate. And it was just the awkward crunchingness of his neck. He is nodding at least. That is good news for William Harvilli, but I think his neck has been compromised, so they will have to take all precautions once again to make sure that he is going to be all right. A great game by the Hurricanes, says Moa Hunters. That's a really hard collision because he's crunched like that. And then he took a crunch on the ground from Balin Sullivan too. So if it wasn't the cheek of his teammate that did it, it was the shot from Sullivan after. Proctor impressing this half. Says Dunk. And damn, that looks bad. Says Freshman. Yeah, it looked like his neck disappeared with how crunched down he got. So hopefully he is going to be all right. Whereas Artie Savia, he's in Japan. He's on a sabbatical. He isn't playing for Moana Pasifika this season. And they are also missing a list of about 14 other players who have gone overseas from this Moana side. Proctor impressing this half, says Dunk. He's been strong since making his way onto the field for Brett Cameron's injury. Carlin captain England from 12. And Japan, says Larry. Still 17 minutes left. This is now our second relatively long stoppage of this contest. And they're still actually making decent time overall, although it will be close to a 2-hour match by the time it's finished. If there are any Blues fans in here, I'm sorry, but I was happy the Chiefs beat the Blues. Damn Blues fans have such big egos. Says Deaf Reaper. Harvilli got hit by his teammate's bum. He certainly did, unfortunately. Which is not the collision that you want. But, yeah, I think Sullivan also got him while he was going down, which wouldn't have felt too flash for him as well. Did Moana punt this game and focus on pulling out a win last week? I think they definitely went rotation in this matchup. And, you know, when you have 13 changes in your starting lineup, you're never quite going to be as smooth sailing as the week prior. But, yeah, I don't know. I feel like they are definitely looking at Western Force next week as a very winnable game for them. But once again, it's not going to be too easy. They have to make sure that they play their best rugby. If they are to do so, definitely better than the Kingfish down South Coast. And g'day, Hamish. Good late good morning from Kazakhstan, says Jonathan. So welcome in. We've still got another game around the corner as well. It's the Fijian Roa taking on the Waratahs. That game will be kicking off in around 50 minutes time or so. Or in fact, a little bit later than that. Probably around an hour. But we are going to be live for that match as well. It's a lot of support in the stands for Israel Leota. It's just a massive shame that he ended up injured so early in the contest. But hopefully it isn't a season ender, because or else that would be a massive shame to make his way from the Broncos to play for them. And how much influence has Tana Umaga had on Moana? It seems like he's had a really strong... The thing is, the off-the-field stuff as well is something that you see Moana. Like, they are literally just a team through and through. Which is fantastic to see. But this young side, it was always going to take a little bit of time for them to be able to gel and find their rhythm. And then with the fact that they lost so many players last year, it was always going to be a rebuild stage. But there's still a side that I believe can beat anyone on any given day if they play their best rugby and if they have their best players available. And I do think that that's probably a mindset that Tana Umaga has given them a little bit more. It's not even close. Says Big Rig there. It's the old New Zealand, hey. They were so good, says Parkin. And also we have good there. I'm hoping next game is a lot closer, says Jasmine. Yeah, hopefully we get a bit more of a back and forth. We see it there. Josh Morby, he's managed to score himself 3 tries throughout this game. 2 defenders beat him, 3 line breaks, and 59 metres carried. They are still tending to William Havili at the moment. But it looks like they are close to picking him up to take him off the field. That is a concern for Tana Umaga because, of course, Havili, I'd say, was about 95% likely to start next week. I did not think it would be such a good win, says Jonathan. Yeah, I think that's just, Moana started so well. And then from there, they just kind of fizzled out a little bit. We started to see a lot more of the ball in the hands of the Hurricanes. At one point, Moana had over 80% possession. We have got there, you're always playing a dangerous game when you name your place/thing new, says Big Rig. I try and watch the drawer. I hope they've woken up, and only team I want to thrash all other teams as well, I think you know, says Jasmine. And who will play 10 for the Canes next week? I actually think they might give Harkin the chance, because since he's gone into their number 10 jersey, he's actually looked very handy. And I would say the most likely is either he goes... Well, I don't know if they'll move Barrett, though. But the easy replacement is Harkin to 10, Barrett to 15, Higgins to 12. That's at least the one that I think is the one that I would look at. Or if you've got Godfrey in the mix, they may just straight go Godfrey 10, Harkin stays at 15. But I don't think they'll plan on moving Barrett this early in the season. So I think they'll probably leave him there. In the past 5 years, who do you think is the most overrated and underrated players? Well, that's hard. That's one that I'd have to have a bit more of a think about, I think. I know one player on your list, JP Travels. He's probably on there at least twice as well. If they didn't make so many changes, they wouldn't suffer such a blowout, says Lisa. Although it is a long season, and that was one of the big reasons why they did do such rotation. They've decided to give guys an opportunity here and give them their debuts. I think they've got about 6 or 7 or 8 debutants from this game. So it's all about getting those young players experience just in case you see a player like Havili end up with an injury. Because, if he's away next week, you need someone to fill that gap. So at least from this game, we've seen that Simon Peter Tuliafoa could probably fill that role not too badly. While they wait for Havili to get back, there's a kick downfield from Cam Royard. It has gone into touch. So a bit of frustration there for Royard. That kills momentum, says Aliza. It does in some regards, but at the same time, some of these teams haven't been blessed with the amount of depth that other teams do. For for instance, we'll just look at the Hurricanes loose forwards at the moment, right? They've got Devon Flanders, Peter Lakai, Braden Yossi in the starting lineup. Very dangerous three. They've got Karifi, who isn't even playing in this game. They've got Brad Shields as an option off of the bench, and they've got about probably 3 or 4 other young players who would still be considered as really decent options for being able to fill those jerseys with injuries. Moana Pasifika, they have got the option of Miracle Whailangi, Samisi Tupo Taialoa, and then also they did have Samisi Paia last week. He was out with an injury, so they don't have the benefit at this stage of having about 3 or 4 different players who haven't or have got that same caliber as the guys in the starting lineup. They have potential of getting them there, but you just need more time with them in the starting lineup to gain that experience. It's a bit similar to what we see a little bit. I think you could compare it to Wales in terms of they've got some great young players, but they just don't currently have that same player depth as some of the other teams. That looked a bit high from Malani Matavao, going for almost a clothesline there, but Roygar plays half. They sit 30 metres out from the line at the moment here with Poldy Rakety Stones. Now going back to the right. Another carry from Brad Shields. After making his way off the bench in this contest, Roygaard goes to Proctor. Quick hands attempted there from Poliko. It goes backwards. Harkin cleans up. And the game, or how the game is being played now, I would like to see Chafiaki at 14 to help with the aerial game alongside Caleb Clark at 11. Oh, that's a terrible pass from Josh Morby. It's gone straight into the hands of Moana Pasifika. We've got to go for the grubber behind Tunatui Tama, trying to win the foot race. Morby claims it just out from his own goal line. Now charging forward up to the 22, tries to step and drag down by Penny. We have got there, do you think not playing South African teams at Super Rugby has had an effect on the spirit of New Zealand Super Rugby franchises when it comes to aura and psyche at the big dance such as pedigree of the World Cup? I think it depends on who you talk to. Because at the end of the day, I feel like, that's a big drop from Fihi Whinianofo. That's what I feel like. But I feel rugby's changed a little bit. We've got more into that more so professionalism era. A lot more players going overseas. So you're kind of in a scenario how in the older days, even back when Super Rugby was happening, with all of the teams intact, like players weren't as likely to just ditch your team, go overseas. Like, you had a lot more guys who were club for life. Like, you played for one Super Rugby team, that was it. They were your team the whole way through. So I think that in terms of, like, with the fact that so many players are going in and out and going to France, Japan and everywhere, you're never quite going to have that same caliber of team mentality as they used to anyway. So I don't know if it was so much the loss of South African sides, it's more so just timing. And the fact that rugby's evolved and there's money overseas now that does entice players, as it should. At the end of the day, you don't get to play rugby forever. You got to make the money while you can. So, you don't get as many of those guys who would stay at a club for life now. And Jordi Monga and Dan Carter. Oh, that's a nice attack and run. Tunatui Tama gives it off to Patrick Pellegrini. He's going to be 5 metres. Oh, he reaches out and scores it anyway. That is very nicely done by the dangerous fly-off. Oh, he ended up with Tunatui Tama on his back and almost ended up collapsing his legs underneath him. Yeah, it bugs me. I bet that team doesn't mean what it used to, says Big Rig. Yeah, it's kind of become team for now. Or like starting team. Like, and I'm not going to use this as like a bad example. Iritara Inari. He's been at how many clubs? And I mentioned about how versatile of a player he is, but I don't know which team you actually call as his like team out of everywhere that he's been. And way back, went at varsity in Johannesburg. We would skip class on a Friday morning to watch the Bulls play the Chiefs, the Highlanders, Canes, Crusaders. Really won, but they were awesome times. And I said the little guy will do it. Yeah, the man who made his way back off the bench, by the way, he did come on for William Harville's injury and then manages to score. Is that Sam Tuitupo? Sam? I don't think so. We've got a Tui Pelotu off the bench. It might have been Tui Tama that I said maybe. Did you know you're live streaming? I had a suspicion. I wasn't too sure though. But it's good to know we're still live, just in case. 12 minutes remaining now. 38 points to 10. He's frustrated, Pellegrini, missing that one off the tee. It could end up that they score the first and last tries of this contest. Now running it, Penny goes across. Trying to cut down on that bonus point as well. I will mention the Hurricanes have got themselves 5 tries from this game. If Moana score themselves one more try, in fact, no, it must be 6 tries by now, right? Yeah, it is 6. So Moana would need 2 more tries to be able to cut out the bonus point, and they're in that breakdown looking for the steal. They get the penalty. And Moana, they haven't quite given up in this game yet. Of course, it's fantastic to see. I think it's what you said, says Ruby. Now, quick tap taken by Milani Matavao. Do you ever watch your own content? Not really. I normally, for videos wise, I edit it so I get to hear all of my mess ups that you guys don't get to. And by then I'm sick of myself. So normally I'll upload after editing and then I won't look at it again in terms of like watching the video. On off to the right hand side. Currently 30 metres out from the line now. Trying to get 1 or 2 more. And honestly, 2 more tries here, 38-22 wouldn't look that bad of a scoreline for Moana Pasifika. So there's something to kind of strive towards. In this case, although very good work in the breakdown there. Ball was almost stolen, although it's going to be play on now. Nice spin on the outside for Moana Pasifika right next to the sidelines. Hey, from Wales, what's your thoughts on the state of Welsh rugby? It's a tricky one, which I'm sure you can probably attest to. I enjoyed what they did in that first half up against the French. And to be honest, I talked about it earlier on about the depth at the moment. Sadly, they're just in a patch where those older, experienced players all went away at around the same time. You know, they lost Dan Bigger, Liam Williams. They lost, a couple of years prior, it was Alan Wynne-Jones in the midfield. You know, you're losing players... even like 15, Lee Halfpenny going as well around that same time. That's another knock-on from the Canes. Like, there's so many players who all went at the same time. So it's always going to take a little bit of time before they get a rhythm going. That's a knock-on from Pihi Whiniarnofo. A Welsh fan here, it's cooked. That Ireland versus England game is going to be an absolute banger. Yeah, we are going to be covering it on the channel. It is the early game of the Six Nations. It will be our 4th live stream in a row, I believe. And Scotland aren't taking them lightly. They're openly saying they can lose. Yeah, Sione Tuipulotu after that first match of the Six Nations. In fact, no, it might have been the second game. He was saying, look, we have a pretty rough record up against the Welsh at the Principality, so we can't afford to underestimate them whatsoever. Oh, no, it is Sam Tuitupo, sorry, off the bench. And the number 20 jersey, my apologies. How we have got their same knock-on. Says Lisa. See, I think I tricked myself because I've got him down as T. Ahing off of the bench. And Scotland to win by 10, says Demon. Now, ball's gone in. Roygard, 25 metres out. I know someone had him in his fantasy team, so they will be wanting something big from Roygard, and he's decided to take a quick tap now, going away to the left-hand side. I would assume that he's on the field as well for, nice offload there. Now Morby, great steal in the breakdown there from Moana Pacific. A little bit of a counter-ruck attempt. That's offside from Warner Derns. Looks like it's going to be play on, though, from Gardner. What's your thoughts on Henry Pollock? Do you think he is world-class, says Nathan? I think he's one of those players that some people absolutely love and some people absolutely hate. But is he good for rugby? I think he kind of is. Like, he's a brilliant player. And I think that some people are annoyed because he can be considered as arrogant and cocky and whatnot. But any game that involves Henry Pollock, people who don't even know who's playing in that game will watch it because he's playing. So he's a little bit similar to Colby Covington in the UFC or a good heel in wrestling. Like, he draws eyes to the game and it's, he's a good player. He can back it up. The bad boy of rugby, I wouldn't even call him the bad boy. It's just like, he's got that cocky confidence of a young player who knows that he's really good. And that rubs people the wrong way. Most of the stuff that's been said about him isn't even true. You go on social media and everyone's got all the fake headlines of this is what Henry Pollock said. So everyone falls for it and goes, he can't say that. we hate him now. And it's like, well, he never said any of it, but you're just gullible. Going off to the left-hand side now for the Canes. Big run forward from Callum Harkin. I like Sonny Bill. Says Pro Pleb there, and it's Sam Tui Tupo's son that's playing tonight. Oh, nice offload there. Braden Yossi. He's got a Geordie Barrett with him. Yossi's got to go himself. He's got plenty of pace. He's running sideways, and he scores another one. The double for Braden Yossi now. Rugby's MJF will call it Conor McGregor. Says Big Rig. And England is going to smack Ireland, and England is the team on the rise, and Pollock is okay, but Cameron Honeycomb is his boss if he can stay injury-free. See, normally that's the thing. Most people seem to have a comparison they want to make with Pollock. Rather than just saying he's a good player or anything like that. There's always, but this guy is the one that I like more. We see it for Quagga Smith as the perfect example, because people go, oh, Henry Pollock only comes off the bench. Then you go, what about Quagga Smith? They go, yeah, but that doesn't count. But yeah, Honeycomb, I hope he can avoid injury, because he's one of those guys that I've missed seeing out there for a very long time. And does have a lot of potential in the box jersey, but for now he just hasn't had those chances. He's pretty sly. Our latest England-Scotland game where the reserves warmed up during their team attack in front of the try line, a scumbag move. Says Red 7 and Pollock is good. World class gets thrown around too loosely. And old mate backing himself try time, and that kick has gone over from Geordie Barrett, now making the score 45 points to 10. So it's getting up there, and go Ireland. Says Parkin a little bit earlier on. Sorry, I did miss that one, didn't I? And Scotland is their bogey team. That's why they lost to Scotland, says Demon. But it's good pace from Braden Yossi. I thought he was going to need some support for a start. Geordie Barrett, he'll be a bit annoyed. He probably thought he was going to get a chance to score a try, but just never quite came for Barrett there. Oh, going up for the high ball. I think Scotland has been their bogey team since 2018. Yes, 5 of the last 6 we have seen won by Scotland, which is why I was surprised at how big of an underdog they were considered. Now offload from Jacob Devery. Nice pass on the outside to Proctor. Kicks it downfield. I'm not sure why, as they did have cover back there for Moana, and that ball's going to go in the in-goal area. Yes, Honeycomb is very good, but damn, Jesper Visa's on another level at the moment. Says 10-2. It would be nice if Geordie got a try. He had almost the chance there. It's actually quite interesting, though, because I mentioned about it last year for the Canes, and it hasn't really changed. And it's not a bad thing in games like this when they're winning 45 points to 10. But I mentioned last year for the Canes, the thing that shot them in the foot and cost them pretty much the whole competition was that some of their players can tend to be a little bit selfish when it comes to the passing department. We've seen it in this game already from Morby, and it's worked because he scored the tries. You probably could look at that one from Yossi and say he possibly could have passed it instead. But that was the big thing last year that cost the Canes, was everyone wanted the glory and they didn't quite seem to work as well as a side. Now, Fihi Finianofo, he did very well earlier on in this game. He could have scored a try. He gave it to his teammate. So that's the type of, I don't know. It's something we spotted last year, and a lot of Canes fans were backing it up as well, saying that it is correct, that sometimes they get a bit excited and want to go themselves. It's also very early on in the comp, and it shouldn't cost them too early. Calderman just started, says Rapati there, and Pollock is a bit of a showboat, but he proves himself on the field, says Johan. So I guess the question is being a showboat good or bad for entertainment in the game? And I know that people will say, oh, the game's not about entertainment, it's about winning. You know, you're not allowed to have fun while you're out there. You've got to be serious. It's all about respect. But at the same time, I feel like the eyes are getting drawn to the TV when Pollock's out there. And so it's a little bit of a double-edged sword. No disrespect. Why would Moana sign someone from Japan and not Ioane Moana Nu? I assume the TARS got in quick for Ioane Moana Nu. And I think we're going to see why throughout this season when he makes his way off the bench up against the Fijian draw. But yeah, I think it just came down to a race and the Waratahs won it. Good effort by Moana and the Canes tonight. And Pollock hasn't played the big box yet, says Red 7. Yeah, that seems to be the one thing that people have said. They've said, oh, it doesn't count until you play South Africa. But other than the Bulls, he did play the Bulls and they dominated the Bulls, but that didn't count because it wasn't international, is what I have also been told. There's a lot of disclaimers about Henry Pollock's career in regards of what he is and isn't allowed to do as of yet. But we'll find out, because I assume he'll eventually get to play up against the South Africans. Close to the line here, only a couple metres out. They've got to stop Yossi from getting the third, surely. Right, Brad Shields. He's waiting for the ball. They're going to use their back line now, though. Short ball, it's too easy, or at least it should be for Proctor. He goes in and manages to score it. Respect to Pollock, I like him. Says Parkin. And also Dorison Van der Fleer. I would like to take Pollock down a Pegel 3. Says Dunk. That's a great try from Billy Proctor. So that is going to be now 50 on the board. You always have to prove yourself against the best. That's the ultimate test. Says Tanner 2. It's a good finish, though, from Proctor. He was close to the try line. People are delusional. If you think a majority of players celebrate similarity to Pollock, it's just that he scores free tries every single game. Reminds me of Jeff Wilson. And is Moana Wallabies eligible? I don't think so yet, but maybe? I can't actually remember what the tie is. I know that because he's playing for the Tars, though, I don't think he can be selected for the ABs. He did all right against the All Blacks. Says Big Rig. And shocking what happened with England. It was, but it wasn't. Scotland have beaten them 5 out of the last 6 meetings. I know he's not Wallabies eligible. I believe he's only signed by the Waratahs for this season. Says the Sporting Kiwi. They are just talking about man of the match for this contest. There's probably quite a few who have got decent chances of winning that award. The bonus point here for the Hurricanes by miles. 52 points to 10. They will be sitting at the top of the table at the end of this match. A good game, brother, says Rapati. And also we have got their agreed. Sure, set them back to 0 for England. Says JD. Now ball's there again for the Canes. 40 seconds remaining. And this France side is the best French team ever in the pot. As their own Dan Carter, this French team. Oh, another line break almost coming there for the Canes. They might not be done and dusted as of yet. Now Proctor goes for the grubber in behind. Harkins chasing. It's curling towards the sideline. Bit of a slip there for Moana Pasifika onto the ball. And Harkin gets the steal in the breakdown. Is Draw playing after this game? They certainly are. They will be playing up against the Tars in the near future. We are going to be covering that one on the channel too. Geordie Barrett. Why has he kicked it away again? He's done it all day, Barrett. That is probably the one thing he's done terribly throughout the match is how many times he's given the ball to Moana, but it does not matter as the game is now over. And the win goes the way of the Hurricanes. The first match of the year for this side in Super Rugby Pacific at 52 points to 10. The way that the scoreboard sits. Cam Roygar, not much of an impact in terms of the overall scheme of this game. Some good moments off of the bench. Will they start him next week in the upcoming contest, or will they decide to still go with a little bit of mix and match? But Morby got himself the 3 tries in this game. Pehi Whinianofo only got the 2 from this contest, but a nice bit of work from this side in the contest anyway. Did you watch Moana 2? I have not seen Moana 2, no. I don't know if I've seen Moana 1. Not the whole thing. Anyway, the cricket guy, Owen Vi was cracker. Says, yeah, underdog pick. And Geordie's most overrated, not Rico, ironically. Says JP. And also Blues losing Rico while they've lost to the Chiefs, says JD. And there too. But nonetheless, I do thank you all very much for tuning in. We have got 22 minutes till the next live stream has taken place. So be sure to tune in for that. That will be Moana Pasifika, Waratahs taking on the Fijian Draw. That's going to be the score between Wales and Scotland. What a game from Arkin, Morby and Geordie. 2027 is the best chance France will have to win a World Cup. They will be favourites with South Africa in 2027. Says Demon there too. But nonetheless, 22 minutes. And then I will see you all for the next one.